You stand motionless, your breath emerging softly yet visibly as winter descends with a quiet grace upon the landscape. The earth underfoot holds steady, almost expectant. In the distance, wood creaks faintly as the chill takes hold more firmly. You draw your covering tighter around you and sense immediately that this isn't merely a night to withstand. It's one that demands readiness. And here's the stark truth. Without precise know-how, you'd likely not make it through. The cold is straightforward in that way. It ignores your courage and yields only to expertise. Now ease into the dimness and allow yourself to ease onward. There's no haste in your steps. Winter is already here, bearing down with a subtle weight. Not a sharp instant, but a slow pact among the heavens, the soil, and your own form. It starts in your fingertips, then creeps to your feet. That's the familiar pattern. In an era predating invasions, before charts were drawn and long prior to the name America taking shape, the inhabitants of this place had long grasped this cycle. A key yet frequently ignored historical detail is that indigenous peoples inhabited virtually every environmental region across the continent, spanning frozen tundras to arid highlands, and each group devised methods to endure nights that could swiftly claim the unwary. Such wisdom wasn't gleaned from texts. It arose from observing the moon ascend above the snow time after time and seeing who greeted the dawn. You find yourself in a realm where winter isn't a crisis. It's a phase governed by principles. Frigid evenings are anticipated and accounted for. This contrasts sharply with today's frenzy, where a brief blackout triggers chaos. Here, the season advances deliberately, signaling its approach over weeks or months. Foliage alters its feel. Creatures adjust their habits. Breezes carry altered scents. You attune to these cues because survival hinges on them. An intriguing fact that continues to puzzle scholars is how certain native communities synchronized their winter readiness, not by thermometer readings, but by the actions of particular birds, whose flights offered surer indicators than initial flurries. You scan the heavens like one might glance at a timepiece. As shadows deepen, it dawns on you that enduring the harshest chills isn't a tale of bold feats. It's about layering modest edges. You don't battle the winter, you bargain with it. The initial pact concerns your spot. You avoid burying yourself on a hilltop without cause. Chilled air pools low. Gales whip across exposed areas. Lacking terms like thermodynamics, you intuit these realities deep in your core. You select sites where the terrain lends a modest aid. A hollow in the ground, a cluster of trees, a bend in the landscape that tempers the gusts sufficiently to count. Experts debate if this attunement to surroundings qualifies as science, custom, or another category altogether. Yet amid the encroaching dusk, the term seems beside the point. What counts is the greater security you sense right here, compared to a mere 50 paces off. The chill doesn't vanish. It softens, grows less insistent. Your inhales come freer. Approaching your haven, you perceive how little is left to chance. Each arrangement echoes ancestral recall. This is the sort of scene that eludes contemporary minds. You're not winging it. You're enacting rituals honed across ages. The darkness weighs in, but it meets forms built to push back. Winter has visited repeatedly over countless cycles. Within, the heat isn't flashy. No fierce inferno unless necessity calls for it. Rather, warmth persists. It gathers close to the floor, where forms recline. You grasp the scarcity of resources, timber, rendered fats, parched waste. Each is rationed with care. A curious, thoroughly recorded practice among some groups involved dimming evening flames, leaning instead on barriers and collective warmth, since preserving stores outweighed ease during prolonged tempests. You discover that effective heat needn't roar to work. You settle in, whether seated or reclined, and note the chill's shift once motion ceases. Limbs chill, limbs grow taut. Herein lies preparation's true worth. You're bundled, insulated, buffered from the icy currents. The substances encircling you aren't haphazard. They hold distinct feels and aromas. Pelt carries a subtle trace of campfire and beast grease. Soil gives off a moist yet reliable earthiness. Timber offers a crisp, sappy undertone. These odors aren't mere backdrop. They convey assurance. Recognition soothes the frame, and a soothed frame retains warmth more efficiently. That's plain fact. Survival comes down to those realities. Next, you tune into the sounds. On winter nights, even minor noises get magnified. A distant twig breaking echoes as if it's right nearby. The breeze gliding past the shelter's borders murmurs rather than roars. Quietude weighs more intensely. Over time, you grow skilled at telling apart the dangerous racket from the usual stirrings of the season. True sleep hinges on making that call correctly. Constant vigilance to every noise would prevent any real downtime. Gradually, your thoughts sort out which sounds fit the winter pattern and which signal trouble. Experts still argue over the extent to which mental training influenced enduring the cold months. Yet right here, in this moment, you experience its impact firsthand. Panic drains your reserves. Serenity helps safeguard them. The soft-spoken tales shared at dusk aren't mere diversion. They steady your breath. They stretch out your focus. They smooth the slide toward slumber. Harsh nights call for rest that's practical, not indulgent. You adjust your position with care, avoiding any disruption to the collective body heat nearby. People are positioned deliberately. The oldest, the youngest, the frailest get the spots where warmth holds on the most. This isn't mere affection. It's strategy guided by compassion. Historians widely note that group sleeping was a staple in numerous indigenous cultures, not just for bonding, but because huddled forms trapped heat much more effectively than solitary ones. The contrast hits you right away. Beyond the walls, the evening grows thicker, constellations grow crisper, the surroundings seem remote, kept distant by the chill. Within, the pace of time eases. You edge toward drowsiness, knowing dawn will demand fresh efforts, fresh motions, fresh, understated work to outpace the weather. Right now, though, you're not battling the frost. You're sharing space with it. Sure, the chill bears down, but it meets wisdom that's long since figured out how to endure. As your inhales grow even, it dawns on you that getting through the harshest winter evenings isn't one isolated talent. It's a perspective on existence that avoids haste, that pays close attention, and that never takes ease for granted. It's an ongoing dialogue with the territory, murmured gently through countless evenings. The chill wrapping around you this night isn't fresh. It doesn't tie to just this instant. It's been molding existences in these parts for millennia of seasons, well before foreign vessels reached far-off coasts. You grasp this as consciousness stirs once more amid the shadows. Your form instinctively recalls the routines. There's no disorientation, no alarm. The cold spell isn't a break in routine. It's woven into the fabric of being. You venture out for a moment, enough to let the air brush your cheeks. The bite contracts your flesh, keen yet pure. This territory has forever required reverence. It's a well-established fact that native groups throughout North America hone their surroundings over no less than 15,000 years, perhaps more, crafting yearly tactics that let them flourish in areas later deemed impossible by Europeans. You're immersed in that very evolution at this moment. It doesn't strike as epic. It registers as everyday. Prior to invasions, prior to divisions and barriers, the cold season already set the rhythms. You don't choose winter's onset. You watch for it. The sun's rays tilt differently. Daylight contracts. Flurries aren't required for the buildup to ramp up. You're already attuned to what's ahead. Such anticipation stands as one of the subtle powers of communities rooted firmly in their locale. You're not merely responding to the freeze. You're preparing for it. An odd fact that catches many off guard is how certain native groups kicked off their cold weather prep by noting shifts in audio, the rustle of foliage, the rebound of steps on iced soil, even the texture of hush at twilight. These signals counted as heavily as the mercury's drop. You pick up on how audio travels longer these days. The landscape seems more cavernous, the season's delving into its core. You head back inside, conscious of the stark variance from today's dwellings that act like the cold vanishes. No barrier fully severs you from the weather here. Rather, there's partnership. The building blocks temper the frost. They don't banish it. This instills forbearance. It instills modesty. From the start, you realize that ignoring the chill invites errors. Academics keep discussing if native cold season expertise counts as regional tweaking or as threads in larger regional weaves. But from your vantage, that discussion seems far off. The key point is that each band, each area tackled the core puzzle in its own way. How to navigate the extended dark without casualties. You reflect on folks from the far reaches up north, where evenings drag on forever. There, the gloom turns into something tangible. Down south, the season poses other trials. Gusts over vast fields, abrupt ices after downpours. Amid woods, flakes accumulate quietly, dampening motion. Every terrain imparts unique insights. The freeze stays concrete. It has feel, heft, resonance. It's a key piece of established history to reflect on. The ways Native Americans endured winter weren't fixed in place. They evolved as time went on. Exchange along trade paths exchanged knowledge. Shifts in population changed routines. Variations in weather demanded adaptations. Such adaptability sustained entire groups. That adaptive spirit resonates with you in this moment. Rigidity has no place here. All elements adapt fluidly. You edge nearer to the embers, dim down for the night. The flames dance sluggishly. They're more hint than blaze. This fire isn't for show. It's a trusted ally. It's nurtured with precision, given breaks whenever feasible. A subtle yet revealing note from oral traditions reveals that kids learn to manage fires well before handling weapons for the hunt. Maintaining consistent warmth was every bit as vital as securing provisions. If ignored, the chill creeps deep inside. Your digits grow numb. Your breathing grows faint. Yet you're holding it at bay. You adjust your stance to trap body heat. Hands slip into folds without a second thought. These reactions come from observation and mimicry, not from written guides. No one spells them out verbally. You've internalized them over time. Beyond these walls, existence presses on through the season. Creatures alter their ways. Some vanish from sight, while others grow daring from desperation. You sense their presence, yet fear doesn't grip you. Their rhythms are familiar to you as well. That awareness guides your choices for shelter and your nighttime vigilance. Rest comes more shallowly in the cold months, though not fitfully. Your environment earns your confidence. Experts still debate the extent to which pre-contact native peoples grasped extended weather patterns. But in this spot, you sense the profound integration of climate into every choice. Grand-scale forecasts aren't required. Inherited wisdom suffices. Your elders recalled fiercer colds. They recalled errors made. Those recollections now infuse your everyday actions. As the darkness thickens, the chill hones your mind. Superfluous thoughts fade. Actions turn purposeful. Talks grow concise. Vitality is husbanded in silence. You observe the subtle shifts in bonds. Dependence on one another intensifies. Sharing body warmth demands closeness. Solitude finds no space. The season draws folks nearer in body and spirit. An intriguing, underappreciated practice involved certain communities rearranging how they slept with the seasons, orienting forms toward or from doorways according to dominant gusts. You reposition instinctively, drawn to the heat. Strategy infuses even repose. You settle motionless, attuned to sounds. The blaze crackles gently. A companion's respiration flows even and measured nearby. The breeze outside grazes the dwelling without intrusion. This equilibrium marks achievement. Not victory, not mastery, but harmony. Winter isn't subdued. It's navigated thoughtfully. Nights like these instruct. They expose flawed preparations swiftly. They honor vigilance. Across eras, this fosters societies prizing keen, watching over mere conjecture. That principle embeds itself in you effortlessly, much like drifting off. The realm outside this haven might one day misinterpret these ways. Some may mistake elegance for basicness. Others may reject ease that feels foreign. But this evening, such concerns fade. The essentials hold: sufficient warmth, enduring coals, the promise of dawn. As your lids droop once more, you hold the serene certainty that the frost didn't strike without warning. It was anticipated, it was confronted, and it will be confronted anew, evening by evening, with the enduring insight that's always prevailed. You realize that enduring the cold doesn't truly begin under cover of night. It commences sooner, well ahead of dusk, through interpreting the landscape by daylight. With the first faint, wan rays stretching over the earth, the bite persists despite the sun's rise. This is a persistent chill that lingers stubbornly. It bides its time. You grasp that comprehending your footing counts as crucially as your shelters or garb. You proceed deliberately, attuned to subtle cues. The earth varies in shadowed zones, firmer, more unyielding. Depressions retain ice longer. Breezes glide through gaps and bypass some spots altogether. You're recalling, or relearning, how to decipher these signs. A solid historical truth is that numerous Native American bands selected winter sites with remarkable care, seeking natural barriers against gales, sun-facing slopes, and access to wood and streams unlikely to fully ice over. These weren't random picks. They stemmed from accumulated trials. You halt by a cluster of trees and sense the contrast at once. The atmosphere stills here, drifts form uniquely. Limbs disrupt airflow, softening it to milder flows. This spot conveys tranquility, security. You perceive the landscape as an active partner in your endurance. Winter isn't a solitary battle. It's a joint effort with the ground itself. One intriguing yet insightful custom shared in certain oral histories involves elders instructing young ones to gauge the winter earth with their souls rather than their gaze. Even spots that appear protected can funnel chilly gusts right at your shins. As you inch ahead, faint breezes graze your calves, heightening your vigilance. That sensitivity lingers. If ignored, the chill rises relentlessly. Experts today still debate if such attunement to the environment counts as a structured body of wisdom or simply a culturally honed instinct. Yet in this moment, the divide seems contrived. Your survival hinges on what you've grasped instinctively. Categories follow afterward. While advancing, you spot traces of wildlife imprinted in the light powder. These marks narrate tales of their own. The routes creatures select or shun highlight safe havens, threats, and concealed trails. You're not mimicking them without thought, yet you honor their innate senses. It's a well-noted fact that native approaches to enduring the season frequently drew on keen observation of wildlife habits, not just for pursuit, but to interpret shifts in climate and landscape. Beasts serve as mobile sentinels for impending changes. You kneel down and gather a handful of flakes, which crunch softly under pressure. That subtle noise indicates the depth of the freeze. Powdered frost crunches unlike damp slush. Your skin prickles briefly before acclimating. Letting it fall, you clasp your palms gently, preserving precious heat. Such mindfulness carries a contemplative quality. The season hones your concentration. There's scant space for wandering thoughts. Deciding on a resting spot this evening isn't driven by contemporary notions of ease. It's centered on curbing depletion of body heat, stamina, hydration. You steer clear of areas prone to later drips from thawing. You anticipate abrupt thaws, then rapid ices. The terrain has patterns you strive to decipher. Academics persist in discussing the scope of native foresight, pondering if it encompassed rare extremes or favored adaptable reactions. Regardless, it fostered endurance. Heading back to the refuge, you realize each footfall builds deeper acquaintance with the area. This insight builds subtly. No isolated insight stands alone in importance. Combined, they form an inner guide that orients you through obscurity. You navigate this soil under cover of night, anticipating the fiercest gales. Such assurance eases tension. Worry squanders energy. Within the enclosure, you observe its harmony with the terrain you explored. It wasn't sited haphazardly. The doorway turns from dominant seasonal blasts. The frame perches a touch higher to evade gathered dampness. These choices remain unseen until you envision their absence. A minor error might leave you rousing, drenched, chilled, and perilously open. A lesser discussed but captivating practice among certain peoples was aligning seasonal dwellings to welcome dawn's rays, intentionally harnessing gentle heat to revive after frigid evenings. You picture the light inching inside soon, warming skin and limbs, affirming survival through yet another vigil. You ease into place, sensing the day's insights embedding in your frame. This isn't abstract learning. It's instinct taking root in your movements. You sense optimal positions free of errant airs. You recognize which materials drain warmth more swiftly. You gauge proximity to companions, sufficient for shared heat without unrest. The cold imparts these truths with urgency. Beyond, a gust surges momentarily, probing the haven. It glides past instead of penetrating. You heed it with contentment. The earth contributed. You contributed. This partnership echoes through time, It pulses under the surface. Researchers still probe the extent of knowledge exchange between territories versus local invention, but you sense it's a blend. Shared challenges yield parallel answers. Unique terrains call for tailored adjustments. The freeze demands proficiency, regardless of origin. As you recline, you ponder how folks today view the season as a mere nuisance, a force to flee toward heated interiors. In this realm, it acts as a mentor. It urges restraint, scrutiny prior to motion, deliberate selection. These principles reach far past frosty dusks. Slumber approaches steadily. Your breaths grow fuller as your form relies on its environment. The expanse without stays frigid, immense, unyielding. Within, heat suffices, not lavish, but equilibrated. Come morning, you'll interpret the ground anew. Its messages persist, and yours ears remain attuned. As darkness lengthens, you grasp how the haven evolves into an extension of yourself. Not detached, but allied with your physiology to stem the gradual seep of vitality into the void. You adjust minutely, feeling the barriers near yet unobtrusive. They don't overshadow, they enclose protectively. The season bears down externally, yet holds back. You perceive the encircling form stirring subtly. Timber settles with faint sounds. Pelt layers draw taut as the chill intensifies. The packed earth in the walls retains a subtle remnant of the day's heat, far beyond what you'd anticipate. Archaeological evidence reveals that numerous Native American winter dwellings were intentionally built close to the earth, minimizing the space requiring heat and curbing wind's intrusion. This setup avoids any sense of confinement. It's a practical adaptation honed by endless dark hours. Your exhaled breath mists for a moment before vanishing, confirming the refuge's effectiveness. Warmth persists right where it's essential, low to the ground, encircling those at rest. From the start, you grasp that lingering upright in the chill drains vitality needlessly. In harsh cold, existence draws nearer to the soil, crouching, reclining, staying motionless. These aren't idleness. They're vital tactics for enduring. The surrounding elements are selected deliberately. Overlapping bark slabs mimic protective scales. Animal skins are tensioned precisely to seal against gusts, yet flexible enough to withstand thermal fluctuations. In certain areas, interlaced mats provide additional insulation, capturing layers of unmoving air. Oral traditions highlight a subtle yet vital habit, mending torn coverings right away, even mid-blizzard, since even a tiny breach could squander the painstaking efforts to preserve warmth. Upkeep isn't a choice in winter, it's relentless. As you trace a hand over a nearby surface, its varied feel emerges. Coarse here, sleek there. Each imperfection narrates tales of handling, of palms shaping, tweaking, perfecting. Experts have observed for years that indigenous structures weren't fixed forms. They transformed, fine-tuned with each cycle of seasons. A dwelling suited for mild early frost might get reinforced as the freeze bit harder, more coverings layered on, doorways constricted, vent openings recalibrated. Adaptability sustains life amid unpredictable weather. No universal plan governs this. Grassland teepees vary from forest-framed huts. Arid zone winter refugees handle chilly evenings and sunny middays, unlike northern ones that scarcely thaw. Debates persist on the extent of knowledge exchange across distances, yet recurring approaches emerge, forged by common hardships more than deliberate links. A bond forms with distant strangers, untouched by your presence, all schooled alike by winter's stern teachings. Within, the atmosphere hangs thick yet easy to draw. Faint smoke lingers high up, drawn off via a modest vent that harmonizes airflow with retained heat. You sense its presence without irritation to your sight. Regulating circulation rivals tending the fire in priority. Overly tight, and air grows stale, too loose, and coziness flees. Scholars debate the exact grasp ancient constructors had on drafts, but outcomes point to deliberate trials over mere chance. You tune into the dwelling's murmurs against the outer gusts, a soft drone, a mild creak, nothing to unsettle, all to affirm stability. These noises serve as checks. An abrupt shift in tone signals change. Vigilance persists, even as drowsiness tugs. Slumber in winter stays shallow, attuned without agitation. A nuance seldom captured in common lore concerns entryways, seldom direct tunnels. More often they twist, descend, or bend, compelling incoming chill to shed its force prior to entering. You experience this crossing over, sensing the bite trailing off instead of pursuing. Such ingenuity, echoed in diverse traditions, reflects profound insight into Cold's behavior. No formulas required, just lived wisdom. You ease into place once more, drawing wraps nearer. The hides carry a subtle aroma of charred wood and rendered fat, now a reassuring emblem of refuge. These odors ground you. They signal to your senses that this is secure ground. Emotional ease counts for more than contemporary views admit. As anxiety eases, tension unwinds. Looser limbs hold warmth better. This subtle interplay of thought and flesh unfolds unspoken but vital each evening. Academics continue weighing if group housing amplified illnesses in confinement, yet records indicate that strategic placement, air management, and migratory patterns curbed such threats. You perceive the deliberate arrangement of bodies, not haphazard heaps, but considered layouts. Seniors claim the coziest spots, young ones buffered from breezes. Expertise flows instinctively, unvoiced. The dwelling safeguards more than mere temperature. It cradles moments, narratives shared within echo from the framework. Fixes from past tempests evoke triumphs over gales. Every gouge, every mend embodies resilience recalled. Such links endure. You're not crafting fixes in isolation under nightfall. You're building on legacies. Beyond, the frost intensifies anew. Celestial lights pierce clearer, more remote. Indoors, a minor dip in warmth occurs, then holds steady. The refuge adapts. You mirror it. This close alliance of flesh, build, and wild feels personal. It dissolves boundaries between wild elements and crafted intent. As slumber at last envelops you, it dawns on you that true shelter isn't a barrier dividing you from the world. It's a careful bargain, admitting what nourishes while barring what endangers. The season of frost imparts this wisdom with a subtle touch, evening by evening, until it roots itself as second nature. Your breaths come in measured rhythms. The enclosure inhales alongside you. The chill lingers beyond, ever present, yet subdued within. Sufficient heat endures to guide you through the blackness, bolstered by the certainty that dawn will break. Tonight, you ease nearer to the earth. In that motion, you grasp how the ground itself integrates into the haven, not merely supporting from below, but encircling, cradling you. The frost overhead bites more fiercely than that underfoot. Dirt clings to warmth, unlike the breeze that swiftly steals it. It harbors mysteries. It holds temperatures even, That reliability seeps into your spine and upper back as you nestle down. In various territories, folks discovered that delving into the soil often proved more secure than stacking high. Ancient remnants verify the prevalence of earth lodges, semi-underground dwellings, and excavated refuges amid brutal colds, especially across the plains and near waterways. Such builds harness the Earth's protective qualities, staying much milder than the frozen atmosphere above. Descend even a brief span underground, and the shift hits you right away. The bite of winter quiets from a roar to a murmur. Your surroundings form dense barriers, compacted and built with intention, blends of soil, vegetation, timber, at times rock. Every stratum hampers the creep of frost. Tracing your palm over the barrier, you sense solid resolve under a subtle give. This isn't mere untouched loam. It's molded, compressed, tended, a fact that catches many off guard. These soil barriers got mended regularly through the cold months, beyond just mild seasons. Even minor fissures counted. Frost exploits every delay. You observe the acoustics in this space. External sounds arrive muffled, softened by the earthen veil. Gale force blunts. Flurries overhead turn to a soft whisper rather than crisp taps. Such stillness eases the path to rest. In the grip of winter, serenity isn't indulgence, it's armor. A relaxed spirit conserves the flesh's strength. The entryway perches a touch higher than your resting spot. Frost dives low. Heat ascends. This basic truth molds the whole design. Warmth gathers down by forms, while cooler drafts hover by the portal. No lecture unpacked this for you. You absorbed it through the chill's favored haunts. Ancestors long ago spotted identical patterns. Scholars debate the uniformity of Earth Lodge layouts among diverse groups, yet recurring elements point to environmental adaptations over chance. Curved chambers, core fire pits, robust sod ceilings braced by wooden skeletons. Gazing upward, you rely on the expanse above. It endures, as ever. A subtle custom noted in various lineages. During building, inner soil faces stayed marginally moist to solidify as they cured in the freeze. This yielded barriers that withstood erosion and blocked gusts better. Grazing the texture with your fingertips, you detect its resilience. The harsh season exacts planning, even from clay. The ground's aroma diverges from timber or pelt. It's an earthy tang, rooted and known. That odor conveys security. It assures your frame of an unyielding surround, amid flux and fury. Such constancy counts. You draw in fuller breaths underground. Flames act otherwise in a soil haven. Warmth diffuses gradually, uniformly. Fumes hang heavier, demanding vigilant oversight. You sense the equilibrium needed. Air vents get tweaked without cease, wide ajar, and heat flees, sealed tight, and the air thickens. Records indicate communities hone precise methods for circulating breath in these confines. Though unspoken in doctrine, the outcome registers more than the method. You adjust your stance with caution, avoiding the firm base. Sleeping pads layer atop bundled reeds or occasionally plaited rugs. Beyond cushioning, they shield from the chill earth directly underneath. A solidly backed insight, safeguarding below the frame, rivals draping overhead. Otherwise, vitality drains earthward. Drawing your legs into a cozier nook, ease radiates bit by bit. Dialogue unfolds here. Subdued. Tones stay hushed. Audio warps oddly in curved voids. It rebounds faintly, prompting unhurried words. Tales shared in earth, lodges unwind leisurely, easing the vigil of night. This rhythm dilutes worry. Below ground, moments thicken, urgency fades. Certain experts debate if residing partly below ground had lasting health impacts over time, yet many highlight how temporary seasonal occupancy and regular upkeep probably minimize dangers. You realize these dwellings aren't lifelong confinements. They're merely remedies for the colder months. Come springtime, existence ascends once more to the open air. Adaptability stays essential. You tune into the ceiling overhead. Snow gathers silently, providing extra insulation. The soil embraces it. Pressure settles uniformly. The framework endures without protest. This harmony between refuge and weather seems deliberate. No element resists the pull of gravity or the bite of frost. All elements align with them. You sense security without isolation. The external realm persists. You perceive its presence, yet it no longer commands your focus. The chill fades to a mere backdrop instead of a peril. Such a change permits rest to grow profound. As darkness advances, you recognize the way these subterranean havens secure recollections. Households revisit identical spots annually. Recollections summon prior colds. Narratives summon tempests endured. Such persistence builds assurance. You're not starting from scratch. You're carrying on a tradition. The soil underfoot retains heat from warmer periods, courtesy of the gradual cycle of seasons. It releases that heat gradually, dependably. You sync with its rhythm. Your breaths ease. Tension fades from your limbs. The outer freeze stays biting, but it can't penetrate completely in this space. You shut your eyes, assured that the terrain itself forms your safeguard. Not subdued, not plundered, merely comprehended. The season bears down, but the ground counters with precisely the right force. And for this evening, that's sufficient. With the flames dimming to a gentle, persistent light, your gaze shifts to the nearby substances. Timber, rind, skeletal remains, items from once vital beings, now silently aiding your endurance through the dark hours. You brush against a timber upright and note its arid texture, its deliberate selection. Not all foliage qualifies for inclusion. Some shatter in the freeze, others twist. Across eras, communities discerned which timbers preserved resilience amid plummeting mercury. Excavations confirm that numerous indigenous groups picked particular arboreal kinds for chilly builds due to their performance in icy extremes. Cedar wards off decay and pests. Spruce yields rather than snaps. Cottonwood offers unexpected thermal barriers when piled densely. These picks weren't ornamental. They stemmed from pragmatic choices forged by harsh evenings that penalized errors. Rind serves its purpose too. Harvested thoughtfully during milder times and preserved, it acts as a barrier to gusts and dampness. You trace your fingertips over a rind section, sensing its stratified durability. It yields a bit rather than splintering. Such pliability counts when mercury fluctuates sharply. An intriguing aspect, somewhat surprising, is the frequent placement of rind sheets with the inner side smooth toward the inside, curbing air currents and softening contact with the walls. Practicality and ease intertwine more than outsiders might think. Skeletal elements emerge in subtle spots initially overlooked. Pins, connectors, implements for crafting other elements. In certain areas, hefty bones bolster ceilings or secure pelts from breezes. Studies note that bone, compared to fragile rock, keeps its integrity in severe lows without turning hazardously jagged if broken. You grasp how waste held no place. Each creature's component held promise. The aroma of these elements merges subtly. Timber fumes, sap notes, subtle hints of beast grease. This fragrance evokes security and containment. It's profoundly recognizable. Contemporary folks frequently overlook scent's role in soothing nerves. In this spot, the odor affirms that all remains in order. Your frame eases into that certainty. The enclosure murmurs faintly as the chill descends once more. Timber shrinks, connections firm up, the noises are anticipated. They signal adaptation, not collapse. You heed them calmly. Such vigilance comes from experience. Unfamiliar tones would rouse you. Known ones invite slumber. No uniform blueprint dictates these components' assembly. Amid woodlands, timber prevails. Across grasslands, beams pair with pelts and reeds. Along shores, flotsam and cetacean remains occasionally feature. Discussions persist on whether these differences arose from surroundings or traditions. Yet in this moment, the solution seems straightforward. You employ what the territory provides, and you study its traits. You observe the handling of edges, superpositions over voids, bindings cinched and readjusted, untanned hide contracts a touch as it cures, the frost drawing connections nearer. Communities knew this well. A binding that seemed slack in fall tightens ideally come winter. This isn't chance. It's foresight that treats frost as an ally. A more obscure method entailed mildly heating timber parts at joining time so they'd shrink subsequently, locking seams firmer as the air cooled. You sense the outcomes more instinctively than you ponder the methods. Breezes are scarce inside. The room's atmosphere stays calm. Unmoving air traps warmth effectively. Bone implements dangle close by, their handles worn sleek from handling. They catch the flame's glow in a gentle sheen, evoking how constructing homes intertwined seamlessly with pursuits like hunting and foraging. These tasks blended fluidly. The very creatures that nourished you also contributed to your dwelling. Such interconnectedness fostered a perspective on existence as a repeating cycle, not divided phases. Experts note that depending on natural elements demanded ongoing upkeep, yet this upkeep itself strengthened the passing down of skills. Young ones absorbed lessons by observing fixes. They picked up the right tap of bark, the proper scent of freshly cleaved timber. Those winter evenings offered moments for such teachings, shared in hushed tones amid busy fingers. Shifting slightly, you notice the ground underfoot. Timber planks over compacted soil, topped with woven foliage. Every stratum hinders the escape of heat. Studies indicate that even modest raised wooden bases, lifted mere inches from the earth, significantly boosted coziness in the chill. That small height proved crucial. You detect far less chill rising from below. Suddenly, the external gusts intensify for a moment. They glide across the bark coverings and along the smoothed contours rather than battering through. Such design is deliberate. Straight surfaces snag the breeze. Curved profiles allow it to flow by. This insight emerges in diverse areas, even between isolated communities. Harsh weather imparts parallel wisdom universally. Academics debate if these construction methods qualify as true architecture by contemporary definitions. Yet here in repose, the inquiry seems irrelevant. This represents building born of need, attentiveness, and keen watching, honed across endless chilly evenings like tonight's. Your gaze follows a fissure in a timber support, recalling its mend from the prior season. An observant individual spotted it promptly. Someone invested effort to seal it soon enough. That vigilance preserves heat right now. Thriving hinges on those who spot minor details. With the blaze fading more, the surrounding substances persist in their roles. Timber retains form, bark wards off dampness, bone endures firmly. None seeks notice. That's the essence. Effective housing fades into the periphery when it functions well. Your breaths deepen, tension eases. You rely on the enclosure not for its grandeur, but for its repeated reliability. Season upon season, the frost beyond stays biting. Inside, though, it's tempered by strata of inherited insight. As drowsiness claims you, you grasp the profound roots of this wisdom. It's not inscribed on pages. It's assembled, bound, polished by vanished palms. This evening, those palms shield you subtly via timber, bark, and bone. You've come to realize that enduring the freeze isn't solely about remaining stationary. Certain evenings, security arises from recognizing the moment to depart. This realization stirs as you rouse prior to first light, attuned to an atmospheric change signaling the frost's evolving nature. The breeze veers subtly. The snow crunches more keenly. The terrain communicates once more, urging relocation this time. You collect essentials unhurriedly. No item weighs without purpose. Portability influences all decisions. Dismantleable homes, versatile implements, garments permitting motion without losing insulation. Archaeological traces in habitation areas reveal that numerous indigenous peoples avoided sole dependence on fixed winter abodes, opting instead for periodic camp relocations aligned with climate, provisions, and landscape. You're aligning with that cadence presently. Winter journeys aren't rash, they're deliberate. You cover limited distances unless compelled. Every stride expends vitality. Every league requires sustenance. Yet persisting in an unsuitable spot can exact a steeper toll. Waterlogged soil turning to ice. Gale shifts catching you off guard. Wildlife relocating. You assess these elements silently, guided by recollection over charts. You bundle gear methodically, pressing it against your form to avert rigidity. The freeze renders all less pliant. Hides stiffen, timber cracks easier. Still, you manage them adeptly. A fact seldom highlighted in educational works is that cold season voyages typically occurred amid the day's mildest hours, though that mildness might seem trivial today. A slight temperature rise counted. You synchronize your steps to that window. Emerging, the chill confronts you unmediated once more. It registers sharper than your prior exit. You're more vigilant. You cinch your wrap snugly and set off, measured, not hastening, nor dawdling. Activity kindles inner warmth, yet excess exertion breeds perspiration. And moisture turns hazardous upon halting. You monitor your stride with precision. The snowpack narrates its tale, firm in spots, powdery heaps elsewhere. You select routes by sensation equally with vision. Traces left by well-trodden paths and migration routes indicate that native peoples in cold seasons prioritized steady progress over haste, sticking to established routes that minimized hazards even if they stretched longer. Security outweighed quickness every time. You observe the way your camp supplies shift along with you. Long poles lean steadily on your back. Packs distribute their load without excess sway. Steady footing preserves your strength. That's the reason behind the emphasis on easy-to-carry gear. Lightweight frames, hide coverings, dome-like enclosures draped in hides. They dismantle and reassemble effortlessly. No need to start over from nothing. It's more like putting back together a trusted setup. Experts still debate the frequency of relocating winter sites compared to hunkering down in one spot. Yet digs and artifacts point to adaptability over strict patterns. Certain winters called for immobility, while others required relocation. The real art was in discerning the right approach for the moment. This evening, the terrain has made the decision clear for you. While you trek onward, you tune in to the sounds around you. Noise shifts in subtle ways during travel. Your breaths echo more sharply in your head. The snow might crunch sharply or squeak faintly based on the chill. Branches creak gently overhead. You train yourself to separate your own sounds from the surroundings. The steps of hunters differ. Gusts sweep in distinct patterns. Such vigilance helps you stay composed. An understated custom during brief cold weather shifts was to limit fires altogether, depending on insulated garments and steady exertion to generate body heat. Flames leave traces behind. Starting one eats up precious minutes. For swift trips between recognized camps, you hold off on it. That assurance comes from faith in your attire and your physiology's reactions. You arrive at a fresh spot just as the gray light starts to lighten the gloom ever so slightly. Dawn doesn't burst forth. It merely softens the shadows. This sight feels like an old friend. It's shielded you in the past. Evergreens block the gales. Powder rests in uniform layers. The terrain tilts gently, ensuring runoff in warmer days ahead. Recognition eases the tension in your chest. Erecting your refuge turns routine once more. Your fingers work on instinct. Supports lock into position. Skins pull taut without resistance. The whole thing takes shape swiftly despite the freeze. That quickness counts. Halting after exertion lets heat escape rapidly. Sights from various wintry outposts reveal habitual returns to the same spots season after season, building reliability through repetition. You sense that practicality right here. Within, a gentle heat starts to gather, humble yet reliable enough. You lower yourself near the earth, allowing your frame to acclimate. Activity has chased the numbness from your muscles. Yet easing into quiet demands care. A sudden plunge back into frost could undo it all. You ease the shift deliberately. Scholars puzzle over the balance between far-flung journeys and nearby moves in the depths of winter. Still, stories passed down orally highlight prudence above reckless feats. The frozen months aren't for testing limits. They're for outlasting the ordeal. You hold that wisdom close. You reclaim your shared quarters. Forms ease into accustomed positions. Shared warmth accumulates. The flames spark up frugally. Beyond the walls, breezes probe the fresh build for a moment, then pass by. You hear it and offer a subtle grin. The wilderness endorses your judgment. As darkness settles heavier, you ponder how motion itself acts like a barrier against the cold. Not endless activity, but purposeful steps, grasping the moments to advance, to pause, to yield to the environment's cues. That adaptability shapes endurance in the ice more than any gadget or shelter alone. Contemporary routines view travel as a hassle. Out here, it's liberation, the power to adapt actively instead of just weathering it. Such a perspective infuses every choice. Winter doesn't confine you, it engages you in dialogue. Rest claims you once more, sweetened by the comfort of having heeded the signs. The next day might call for rest or another trek. Regardless, you're prepared. The chill will evolve. So must you. Once you cease battling the flakes, they stop seeming hostile. This night, with the earth vanishing under fresh, pristine cover, you sense the hush deepening. the landscape turning gentler, like it's cushioned. Your foot presses in a bit before finding purchase. The snow welcomes your weight. It doesn't push back. You flick some off your arm and note its crisp dryness, its featherweight touch. This isn't mere frozen air made solid. It's a resource. Those enduring endless chills grasp that young. Flurries provide padding. They muffle echoes. They conceal steps while betraying others in turn. Excavations from frozen settlements nationwide reveal how powder was woven into dwelling designs, piled against sides, or compressed to block air leaks. You glance at your outpost's borders and spot the drifts shaped to fill small openings, sealing them tight without burdening the frame. The change hits right away. Drafts lose their edge. You gather a fistful and watch it drift down lazily. Powdery flakes resist melting. They capture pockets of air. Those voids retain heat far better than exposed soil. You recall the lesson. Never sweep away the buildup without purpose. Exposing the ground by clearing it reveals iced soil that draws away body heat more rapidly. Instead, allowing the snow to remain or molding it carefully helps maintain a more even chill on the earth below. This wisdom isn't drawn from books. It's born from those harsh evenings when errors sank deep into your very frame. One particular insight might seem odd initially. Snow itself can prevent items from turning fully to ice. Jugs of water placed under a layer of snow remain unfrozen for extended periods compared to those out in the open. You sink your palm into a snowbank and sense the chill hardly shifting as you delve further. The top layer nips at you, but beneath, it evens out. Such a method spares effort, resources, and irritation come dawn in the cold season. Rather than battling frost, you coax it into staying away altogether. You tune in as fresh flakes drift down softly. Each one dampens noises. The surroundings appear to draw in a breath. That silence serves a function. Beasts of prey pick up fewer sounds. You, however, catch more. Your breaths grow steady on their own. Serenity washes over you once more. Scholars examining old winter settlements have observed how falling snow frequently aligned with extended downtime. Journeys grew more hazardous, and auditory signals faded. That inner sense directs you in this moment. This evening calls for huddling near. Moreover, snow serves as a trail marker. Footprints show up distinctly. Your own steps indicate precisely when you moved through an area. Traces of wildlife stand out more vividly. You interpret motions in ways the warm months never permit. In essence, snow acts like a chronicler of events. You spot where creatures near safe spots and where they steer clear. Such details carry weight. They influence your level of watchfulness. You recall lessons in probing snow through its sounds. A light touch might yield a faint creak, signaling extreme cold and dryness. Softer, damp snow acts otherwise. It compacts with ease. It thaws more swiftly. Every type requires its own approach. Certain varieties suit building roofs or barriers. Others are wiser untouched. You adapt instinctively without overanalyzing. The skill resides in your touch. While specialists still debate the extent of snow-based housing beyond the extreme northern regions, hints from artifacts and spoken histories indicate that communities without elaborate igloos nonetheless harness snow for safeguarding through wind barriers, modest mounds, or directing drifts. You discern these signs nearby: gentle bends, swept routes, accumulations nudged just so to count. You settle by the hut's side and notice the steady hold on the air's mildness. The buildup beyond reinforces the shield. Within, heat lingers, not seeping out. Flames require less effort to sustain. Wood stretches further. Over months of frost, these small gains accumulate. Thriving in the wild hinges more on such subtle efficiencies than on bold gestures. An overlooked custom used snow to chill provisions gently, avoiding total freeze for better preservation. You envision compact packets nestled in dim hollows, shielded from scavengers and shifts in the weather. Thus, snow doubles as larder and cooler. The season offers its aids to those who observe closely. You rise for a short while and venture out once more. Snow bounces back illumination, even from distant stars. The darkness brightens subtly. This aids in finding your way. It alters perceptions of the hours, too. Night loses its total grip. You linger a bit outside. You pause to value how the terrain has rounded its harsh lines. The interplay between snow and gusts counts as well. Piles gather reliably near barriers. You observe accumulations hugging trunks and hut sides. Those formations disclose currents of air. Come morning, should breezes change direction, the drifts will signal it ahead. You store that away mentally. The cold always provides clues, if you're versed in deciphering them. Debates persist on whether handling snow was instructed deliberately or picked up by example. Yet the outcome holds true. Young ones grasp it through action by eyeing how seniors mold banks, sweep trails, and reinforce edges. Errors get mended softly. Snow proves more lenient than solid ice. It permits trial without instant peril. You shake flakes from your locks and re-enter. The space seems cozier than before, despite the unchanged blaze. That coziness stems from immobility, from plugged openings, from the snow's silent labor beyond the walls. You settle in and sense thanks for what so many scorn. As darkness thickens, the flakes ease off. Everything sinks into profound stillness. You stretch out anew, knowing the cover overhead and encircling you now bolsters your safety. It repels drafts. It deadens echoes. It evens out the chill. It fortifies the space with no extra toil. In today's rush, folks view snow as a foe to shove aside swiftly. In this place, stripping away too much would spell recklessness. You collaborate with the descent. You embrace it. You form it. Such an outlook sustains life. Your breaths level once again. The white layer presses lightly against the hut, enduring and airy. The bite of frost lingers beyond, yet it seems restrained. Here within, you've achieved sufficiency. That's the aim. Not indulgence, not surplus, just adequacy. Rest arrives without resistance, borne gently by the hush of the snow. The landscape seems cocooned, cushioned, encased in its own rigorous manner. The snow has shifted from an external force acting upon you to a companion unfolding alongside. Tonight's fire isn't a showy display. It's a subtle companion, dim, measured, almost reserved. You position yourself near enough to sense its gentle exhale, yet distant enough not to squander its gifts. In the depths of winter, flames aren't meant for dazzling light. They're about moderation. You've come to understand that a wild blaze devours resources quicker than it provides solace. What matters is reliability. You nurture the flames thoughtfully, selecting chunks that smolder steadily and uniformly. Compact timber, parched remnants preserved just for evenings such as this. In various territories, the remnants of hearth sites and seasonal homes reveal steady evidence of prolonged, gentle heats over fierce blazes. This recurring trait whispers a subtle tale. Folks weren't battling to conquer the chill. They were matching their pace to it. You observe the fire's demeanor. The tongues of flame twist languidly, clinging to the logs rather than shooting skyward. The warmth radiates horizontally, staying low. That's crucial. Proximity to the earth sustains bodily ease. Squandered energy rising to the roof benefits nobody. You recall lessons in interpreting the fire's temperament, much like deciphering expressions on a face. Its disposition reveals if it's faring properly. Wisps of smoke rise leisurely, directed toward a vent that's been fine-tuned repeatedly. You see how scant haze hovers by your sight. Achieving that equilibrium demanded repetition. Scholars still debate the exact methods for gauging ventilation in olden habitats, yet the outcomes are evident. Indoor blazes kindled without choking those they comforted. Experimentation, missteps, and passed down wisdom hone the technique. One unexpected fact for many is the frequency with which flames were permitted to fade nearly to nothing in the night's core hours. Rather than perpetual stoking, inhabitants trusted layering, collective body heat, and covered coals preserved under soot. You extend a hand to prod softly. The coals pulse faintly, poised to awaken as required. Conserving logs today could ensure heat come dawn. You sense the fire's influence on your form. Cheeks flush initially. Fingers relax, feet thaw more gradually. The coziness arrives in pulses. You avoid pursuing it aggressively. Seeking out heat sparks perspiration, and moisture on the skin spells peril once activity halts. You permit the glow to approach on its terms. Managing the blaze follows a quiet cadence. Introduce wood, pause, watch, tweak. This pattern soothes the thoughts. It eases respiration. It fosters a feeling of command amid a time of year rife with uncertainty. Certain experts propose that overseeing flames served a mental function in enduring the cold, beyond mere bodily needs. In this spot, that rings true. The fire offers an auditory anchor. Its noises are soft, a snap, a breath, a soft hiss. You discern the significant from the trivial. Abrupt bursts signal dampness locked in timber. A consistent hum signals harmony. You ease back a touch. Relying on the blaze to fulfill its role sans endless oversight, the flickering glow alters the hut's atmosphere. Contours mellow, boundaries fade, existence contracts to a graspable scale. That's vital come winter, when boundless expanses can daunt. You're not supposed to encompass the entire span in your awareness simultaneously. Instead, embrace the instant, the coziness, the darkness. You heed the advice against ever consuming beyond need. Wood embodies toil in tangible shape, felling, hauling, curing it. Every fragment embodies prior exertion. Wasting it idly dishonors that toil. Such a mindset guides actions better than mandates. You honor the flames for honoring the sweat that birthed them. Discussions persist on blending varied combustibles in cold season hearths, but findings point to adaptability. Timber in forested zones, parched foliage, or scat in barren ones. Tallow incorporated frugally for bursts of intensity. You detect a nuanced aroma from the fire this evening, deeper, perhaps a hefty addition. It smolders longer, more efficiently. You extend your palms to the glow, then withdraw. Extended contact parches the flesh excessively. All carries a price. The season drills equilibrium without mercy. excess warmth proves as troublesome as scarcity. True ease resides in the slim margin between poles. As darkness thickens, the blaze grows hushed. Coals shimmer reliably under a layer of cinders. You place a modest fragment and see the orb illuminate sawn surging. Such finesse comes from seasons of practice. Flames heed care, ignore them, and they betray. Overload with fuel, and they squander. There's in closeness to winter's hearth. It draws folks near without insisting on talk. You gather in proximity, yet with space. The heat is communal, undivided. This mutual dependence forges ties. The frost erases frivolities. The fire turns into a hub for endurance. You settle once more, arranged so the glow envelops without disrupting rest. The blaze won't extinguish fully. It'll endure the hours, pulsing faintly beneath the cover. With that assurance, your frame eases into complete repose. Beyond the walls, the chill clamps down once more. Within, the flames reply in hushed tones, not through spectacle, but steady endurance. That's sufficient. The season demands no flair, only reliability. Your lids drift shut. The blaze endures. Glowing coals throb gently, akin to a languid pulse. Come morning, it will be roused anew. For the moment, it stands guard as you slumber. Darkness envelops once again, shifting your focus inward to the subtle ways forms align. When heat transforms from personal possession to communal gift, you settle with deliberate care, not merely picking a spot, but forging ties with all others in the enclosure. Spacing counts. Proximity does too. Too distant, and frost slips through the gaps. Too near, and slumber turns restless. Across countless seasons, folks discovered that equilibrium. You observe how figures instinctively arc toward each other, creating a soft arc or subtle row. Warmth pools at the center. Limbs draw close to the core. It's unspoken, unfolding like breath, silent and innate. The earth below seems more solid than in milder times, yet the padding separating you from it eases the hardness. Linens are layered purposefully, prioritizing safeguard over mere ease. Seasonal shifts alter rest patterns. In the cold, motion dials back. Stances are selected and held steady. Frequent turns disrupt the collective insulation. Your tension unwinds into quietude, hoarding vitality. Traces in ancient lodgings reveal that rest areas were methodically arranged, drawing nearer in frost than in thaw, showing a grasp that group heat eased personal burdens. That insight sinks into your spine and neck. A nearby form adjusts faintly, then holds still. You perceive their heat, song contact. The space dividing you grows denser, toastier. Unmoving air is a treasure. You grow mindful of not agitating it needlessly. Respiration adapts too, more measured, profound. Steady inhales squander less energy. Such wisdom stays unvoiced, yet it's enacted each evening. Young ones and seniors occupy the hottest zones, not out of affection alone, but calculated kindness. Sturdier frames act as barriers, warding off currents for the rest. You sense a quiet pride in this setup, unnamed though it be. All partake just by occupying their place. One subtle custom catches the eye if you're attentive. Souls sometimes brush or nestle by another's calves, not pressing, but near to share the glow. Palms burrow into garment creases or undercovers. Visages stay bare enough for easy air. This intricate dance evolved over eras. You reap its rewards effortlessly. Repose alters in quality here. It arrives in extended but shallower waves. You rouse momentarily to noises, then fade back. That's expected. Frosty nights blend deep recovery with vigilance. Full oblivion never claims you. Even in visions, you're attuned. This alertness ensures security. Certain studies propose group rest curbed frostbite dangers in harsh freezes, while others highlight how it wove tighter communal ties via endless nearness. Reality probably merges the two. You experience them intertwined. Insulation and kinship merge seamlessly, hard to untangle. The aroma of the palates rises subtly. Hints of char, pelts, withered herbs. These fragrances ground you. They signal to your senses that this haven is known. Recognition soothes the nerves. A settled state retains warmth better. Such links between ease and biology go unremarked, but you sense their pull tonight. You're subtly vigilant against rousing companions. Minor shifts are measured. A faint cough echoes. A drawn-out sigh follows. The dwelling cradles these murmurs softly, muffling sharp echoes. All fosters quiet. You recall the lesson against pressing straight to icy barriers. A slim buffer counts. Pads leave clearance between forms and the perimeter. That void halts warmth from seeping into soil or timber. You value it keenly as dusk thickens and outer frosts plunge lower. Debates linger among experts on full versus partial garb for winter nights, but lived practice clarifies beyond books. You don layers that nurture heat without binding flow. Overly snug hampers circulation. Too slack lets it flee. Equilibrium comes naturally. As time unfolds, released heat gathers. The space warms beyond your initial settling, not from a fiercer blaze, but from bodies sinking in cadence. Warmth accumulates gradually, much like faith. You feel sheltered, yet unbound. Visions begin to wander in. Winter dreams tend to hush themselves, fading into softer hues. Maybe that's because the days themselves carry a muted quality already. In your slumber, visions unfold of trekking across drifts, flames dancing on known features, whispers of tales exchanged in low tones. You stir awake for a moment, then surrender back to rest. Beyond the walls, the chill intensifies, yet it seems remote now. Within this setup, everything stays intact. Chance plays no part here. It's the outcome of myriad precise decisions honed through seasons. Huddling for the night goes beyond mere heat sharing. It embodies endurance forged in unity. You come to see that dozing through the freeze turns into a gesture of faith. Faith in your companions. Faith in the refuge. Faith in the wisdom handed through generations. Such faith lets repose sink deeper, even as the outer world turns unforgiving. As darkness reaches its core, breaths throughout the space align in harmony. Rhythmic even, they lift and settle with a cozy cadence. You find yourself swept up in the flow. The frost lingers, sure, but it's been pushed to the edges through compromise. Dawn approaches in time. Meanwhile, slumber performs its quiet duties. Forms mend. Vitality rebounds. Collective heat endures. This marks the way evenings endure the grip, not in isolation, not through bold feats, but in subdued companionship, until the icy hold eases anew. When awareness flickers back during the dark hours, it's not the freeze that pulls you alert. It's the sensation pressing against your flesh. Attire in this place serves no ornamental or rank purpose. Its gear calibrated precisely to the season's rigors. You roll your shoulders, sensing the strata yield and shift alongside you, never pushing back. Such harmony outweighs mere bulk. Every stratum plays its role. The innermost one gentle, wicks away dampness before trouble brews. Perspiration poses a real threat amid the snows. It robs vitality as it chills. Ages before folks framed it in today's lingo of barriers, trial carved the truth deep. Fabrics that clung wet got shunned. Quick drying ones earned favor. Gradually, tastes molded customs. You draw the exterior wrap tighter, noting its shield against gusts while letting vapor escape. Pelt aligns deliberately for good cause. Donned right, it repels flakes and tempers breezes. Flip it amiss, and the bite pierces sharper. No haphazard trial here. Enduring cycle after cycle sharpens these picks. Artifacts from cold season garb reveal intentional hide positioning, proving grasp of how currents mingle with beast coats. One subtle routine catches the eye on closer look. Before bedding down, outfits get eased a touch, not stripped off but repositioned. Constricting ties hinder blood flow. Stalled flow spells numb extremities. You tweak it instinctively, relieving the squeeze at cuffs and hems. Even distribution of heat follows suit. Ease settles in. You ponder the toil embedded in your garb. Pelt scoured and tamed, thread spun with steady hands, seams sewn via all under glow of embers. None of it rushed. Cold weather gear embodied months of toil banked for lean times. Mishandling it, unimaginable. You stroke a join tenderly, mindful of its worth. A fact that catches today's ears off guard. Cold outfits seldom stayed fixed between inside and out. Strata realigned based on motion. Active spells called for lighter loads to dodge excess heat. Stillness brought extras on. These ongoing tweaks ensured dryness and toasty balance. Traces of use on preserved pieces point to repeated on-off cycles, not rigid wear. You sense that flexibility now, as fingers subtly reposition cloth. Observe how joins avoid spots that grind into earth come rest. Nobody courts a chill leaking via squeezed threads. Such positioning shows deliberate planning. Even trifles like hem reach count. Arms lengthen sufficiently to glove palms on demand, yet avoid snagging tasks. The season pardons no awkwardness. Debates linger on uniformity of styles region to region, yet parallels emerge wherever frost called for it. Stacking, flexible ties, pelts, skins, plumes, and botanics as available. You sense ties to distant souls who tackled identical challenges with distinct yet devoted methods. Easing back in, you nestle souls further into the cozy pocket. Bootcraft for snows forms a field unto itself. Pliable bases permit pulse and touch. Rigid ones curb them. You flex digits, welcoming renewed rush. Rackets for drifts stand ready close by, crafted to spread load and halt plunges. Idle though you are, they underscore that tomorrow's strides hinge on this evening's readiness. A custom seldom spotlighted entails venting cold garb at every chance. Even in biting air, locked in wet and weaves turns risky. You recall laying pieces by blaze glow in daylight, turning them with precision to dry sands burn. Proper upkeep ensured your garments stayed functional. Ignoring it would wear them out in no time. The aroma clinging to what covers you seems comforting these days. It's a blend of wood smoke, tallow from hides, and damp soil. Those odors offer a sense of security, proof that the fabrics are holding up their end. Fresh outfits carry a sharper, untested scent, but the ones you've relied on reek of endurance that's already been battle-tested. You sense the way multiple layers capture pockets of unmoving air against your skin. That trapped warmth builds and lingers. Activity disrupts it slightly, while quiet holds it steady. So, you opt for calm. Slumber comes in light cycles, broken by fleeting moments of alertness. Upon each stirring, you tweak a hem or crease. Such minor fixes block the chill from creeping in. Debates persist on whether winter attire differed much by sex or years, yet raw necessity usually trumped any rituals once the frost bit deep. Folks donned whatever proved useful. Ornamentation took a backseat to utility. The harsh season streamlined choices without erasing their deeper value. You picture young ones absorbing these skills from the start, mastering combinations, knowing when to ease up or pile on, errors nipped kindly before they turned risky. Lessons in the cold unfolded seamlessly, embedded in routine instead of set apart. That heritage serves you well today. A gust rattles outside for a moment, probing ties and stitches. No breach gets through. The outfit responds without fanfare. Such quiet reliability marks true achievement. Effective winter gear fades into the background when it's pulling its weight. As time stretches on, your core heat evens out. Neither overheated nor shivering, you hover in that slim zone the season permits. Earning that equilibrium takes effort. You settle into it gratefully. Come morning light, your wraps will adapt once more, shed for activity, fine-tuned for repose. But right now, they cradle you softly, fulfilling their crafted role. This craft stems from watchful eyes, steady hands, and an acknowledgement of winter's unforgiven nature. You ease further into rest, aware that tonight's attire isn't some relic of style locked in the past. It's wisdom woven into shape, bearing heat across the ages. One hushed evening after another, you rouse slightly, toes stirring first. No chill, just readiness. Feeling persists. That's crucial. Amid the freeze, steady blood flow separates mere unease from real peril. You curl your toes softly, and heat surges back. The wraps encasing them yield gently, built in plies that accommodate. No rigidity, no pinch. Journeys through snow start and finish with limbs that answer your call. You rise gradually, sliding into nearby moccasins. They've been placed thoughtfully, soles facing in to ward off overnight frost buildup. Even after enduring sub-zero hours beyond the shelter, they bend easily. That pliability isn't accidental. Shoes that stiffen in the cold turn treacherous. Selections favored stuff that flexed alongside you, never in opposition. Remnants from old camps reveal more fixes on footgear than on other pieces. Soles mended often, edges bolstered. This focus underscores a basic reality. You might forego luxuries, but mobile feet are non-negotiable. Tomorrow's path hinges on tonight's tending. You cinch a thong firmly yet loosely, prioritizing circulation over squeeze. Drifts beyond have reformed under the breeze by now. You venture out warily, gauging sink and push. Lacking snowshoes, progress would drain you swiftly. You grasp yours, noting their featherweight build. Broad webs spread your mass over the powder, avoiding deep plunges. This setup recurs in icy terrains worldwide, tailored to surroundings but rooted in one idea. Distribute pressure, spare your strength. Advancing, you find the going smoother. They don't erase the labor, just stave off burnout. Routes stay viable post-blizzard. Imprints from those frames dot frozen expanses, hinting at purposeful treks over toil. You stick to a known path, reliable against surprises like glazed patches or surprise banks. One overlooked nuance. Snowshoes aren't constant companions. Deploy them for deep cover, ditch for firmer turf. Hauling them fits the flow. That versatility boosts your pace. Traces of scuffs point to habitual swapping, not non-stop wear. The choice feels innate to you. As you trek, warmth in your soles comes more from stride than padding. Flowing blood handles the heavy lifting. Lingering idle invites the bite. You mix pace with pauses in windbreaks, never out in the open. Breezes snatch heat quickest during ill-timed halts. You've grown attuned to spotting safe spots. Questions linger on typical winter trek lengths among various peoples, though cycles imply focused outings over aimless roams. You're not wandering aimlessly. Instead, you're sustaining life, inspecting snares, collecting firewood, stopping by adjacent settlements. Travel through the cold stays deliberate. Each stride carries purpose. Pausing beside a cluster of trees, you cross one foot gently over the other. This position helps retain body heat. As you redistribute your balance, the snow crunches softly once more. It's powdery and frigid, yet tolerable. If it were sodden, you'd adapt your approach differently. That detail registers instinctively. In the snow, traces hold significance. Your own prints signal your route to fellow travelers. Wildlife prints indicate recent visitors. The white blanket captures it all. This openness alters your navigation entirely. You steer clear of pointless detours. Stick to familiar routes whenever feasible. Security arises as much from routine as from concealment. One straightforward technique, especially in bitter chill, entails packing insulating grasses or pelts into your boots. This added barrier holds in heat and wicks away sweat. Tweaking your moccasin reveals the benefit right away. Warmth flows back to your feet more steadily. Such a minor adjustment transforms a perilous outing into something endurable. Heading back to the hut, you meticulously shake off the flakes from your boots. Allowing them to thaw indoors would breed wetness, and wetness breeds frostbite. This ritual unfolds routinely, unspoken. When risks loom large, custom outshines any lesson. Once inside, you unstrap your snowshoes and position them to air dry gradually. Positioned too near the flames, the wood twists. Too distant, and dampness persists. Equilibrium defines survival in the frost. You arrange them precisely and sense a quiet contentment. Scholars debate the variations in winter boots for routine versus longer treks. Yet evidence suggests versatile constructions that flex with needs over rigid specialization. You grasp that advantage today. Simpler gear means easier handling, reduced loss, minimal fixes. Easing into your spot, you draw your feet into the cozy glow anew. They've borne you to vital places and will repeat the feat come dawn. The season insists on appreciating the unassuming extremities, limbs, implements that labor silently. As drowsiness creeps in, assurance blooms from the fact that mobility endures amid the freeze. Snow doesn't confine you. You traverse it mindfully. That assurance soothes the spirit. And in the depths of winter, serenity warms the frame far better than fear ever might. Before darkness engulfs the heavens, your mind turns to sustenance, not gnawing famine precisely, but affirmation. Nourishment in cold months prioritizes endurance over desire. You seek certainty that provisions await beyond today and the next. You prowl the shelter's edges warily, inspecting modest packages, vessels, suspended rations. Each embodies preparation from warmer seasons past. The labor sustaining you now started under lengthy sun. Venison cured leisurely in fading summer breezes. Salmon was hickory smoked until infused with safeguarding aroma. Tubers foraged, scoured, and stowed. grains winnowed thoughtfully. Artifacts from seasonal outposts uniformly indicate dependence on reserves post the onset of frost, not relentless pursuit. This habit underscores a basic reality. Enduring long nights hinges on forethought amid brighter hours. You perch and unbind a share, observing its altered aroma compared to raw catches. Intensified curing alters mouthfeel and flavor, yet bolsters dependability. You masticate deliberately, permitting inner heat to radiate. Now fats prove essential above all. They kindle vitality internally. Stringy protein sates, but offers scant defense against the chill. Folks master this lesson swiftly. Winter fare evolves. Reduced diversity, heightened utility. An aspect overlooked by contemporary audiences is the precision in selecting hoard spots, akin to choosing lodgings, provisions seldom consolidated in singular troves. Dispersed stashes mitigate peril. Should beasts raid one, spares endure. If humidity taints a batch, alternatives persist. Earlier patrols of multiple hides brought ease when stocks stayed intact. You observe the seals, bark covers, rock anchors, pelts lashed firm, all crafted to repel damp and intruders. Wetness corrupts edibles swifter than low temperatures. Hence, hoarding prefers arid nooks, lofty perches, or steadfast icy soil. Unearthed camps frequently uncover elevated racks and burrows tailored to regulate chill and mugginess. You harbor thanks for such ingenuity. Presently you consume unhurriedly. Frosty repasts demand leisure. The very act of breaking down food produces heat. Savoring it prolongs that benefit. You attune to the subdued noises of companions mirroring you. Words flow sparingly. Chatter drains vigor. Hush suits the moment. A minor custom from early teachings lingers. Avoid depleting any vessel fully unless essential. Distribute intake uniformly. This averts abrupt voids in one spot and curbs shocks from mishaps in others. This approach seems almost like a calculation, yet it's rooted in tales from seasons when equilibrium faltered. Lingering curiosities swirl around the frequency of fresh provisions, bolstering reserves amid the harshest frosts. Clues indicate that pursuits like hunting and snaring persisted whenever weather permitted. Though the core focus remained on safeguarding supplies, you grasped the reason excessive travel for weighty provisions yields more drawbacks than benefits. Preserved sustenance transforms uncertainty into reliability. You run your tongue over your fingers to remove traces and secure the leftovers with precision. Any exposed grease draws wildlife and degrades swiftly. Hygiene carries greater weight in these times. Extravagance beckons misfortune. You clean your palms on a bit of leather and store it for future utility. Discarding items impulsively is unheard of. Sustenance also evokes recollections. Specific flavors evoke particular times of year. Parched fruits summon thoughts of sunlit afternoons. Cured seafood brings back memories of waterways now encased in frost. Such cues anchor the spirit. Without them, the chill season might drag on forever. Nourishment serves as a link to rhythms that transcend the freeze. An understated custom entails intentionally combining edibles, greases paired with proteins, desiccated greens alongside flesh. Such harmony aids the frame in holding on to body heat extendedly and averts weariness. The impact registers swiftly. The chill eases a touch. Sinews relax. Repose draws nearer. You observe the communal distribution of meals. Allotments stay restrained yet equitable. Selfishness is absent. Stockpiling breeds discord and grudges that erode collective strength. Enduring the frost hinges on mutual reliance. That reliance thrives on equity. The communal dimension of provisions rivals its bodily value. Scholars of human societies frequently highlight how cold weather communal meals varied from those in warmer times, prioritizing steadiness rather than plenty. You're embodying that steadiness at present. Beyond the walls, gusts alter direction. Within the haven, tranquility endures. The meal nestles comfortably in your belly. Vulnerability fades. Appetite intensifies the bite of frost. Contentment softens it. This dynamic influences how nights progress. Consuming too near bedtime hinders rest. Partaking too soon prolongs the vigil. Rhythm counts. You recollect the wisdom from elders on heeding bodily signals through the freeze, avoiding intake from idleness, addressing pangs promptly, equilibrium once more. All paths lead back to poise. The icy period pares down to essentials, retaining solely the effective. Doubts linger on regional variations in favoring botanical versus faunal reserves in severe colds. Yet the enduring truth is adaptability ruled. Folks consumed what lasted, what journeyed easily, what fueled inner fire. Flavor choices aren't on your mind. Survival for the coming day is. You ease into your spot. Belly content, exhalations even, pulse calm. Provisions have fulfilled their role. They'll persist subtly till dawn. The exterior chill bears down, yet it seems milder. Internally reserves burn. The dwelling stands firm. Slumber comes with less resistance. As lids descend, insight dawns. Frosty evenings aren't conquered in isolation. They build on preparations spanning warmer phases. Harvests gathered under light sustain the shadows. Such awareness soothes. The next day brings fresh chill, but also sustenance. And that shifts everything. Tonight's comfort stems not just from flames or walls. It builds gradually from within, drawn from prior intake and innate bodily wisdom. You sense it as serene endurance, not fleeting surge. The freeze imparts appreciation for enduring heat, the sort that persists. You rest motionless, registering how the cold alters with a belly sated by apt choices. Not stuffed, not burdened, but empowered. Grease plays a key role. It smolders steadily, sustains circulation through tissues well past inactivity. Time-honored trends in cold season eating reveal a marked pivot to fat-laden and core-rich items in the deepest freezes, particularly where darkness lingered relentlessly. You comprehend its importance. During preparation, focus dwelled on prime segments, skulls split with care, cores drawn out and divided, no haste. The essence packs vitality densely. It heats without overtaxing capacity. Lessons echo. Cores suit the frost, not routine days. They're preserved, honored, deployed at critical junctures. You hear the precise snap of shells parted right. A neat break, unjagged. Mastery demands repetition. Shattered bits squander vital parts. The core wafts a subtle, opulent aroma. You savor it deliberately, knowing this vitality will bridge spans of quiet. Certain ancient sites reveal purposeful fracturing in frosty sites, distinct from balmy ones, implying shells received special handling when the freeze exacted every edge. This evening embodies that distinction. Grease adheres to mouth and digits. You tend to them mindfully. This element lures beasts and taints rapidly, if neglected. You honor it. The frost honors diligence. Small portions of surplus fat get tucked away, blended with dehydrated meat or fruits to form provisions that hold up on journeys and last through scarcity. These blends aren't random. They've evolved through trial and countless cycles. One nuance stands out quietly yet profoundly. Consuming fat right before bedtime keeps the body toasty for hours beyond what daytime intake could achieve. You're sensing that endurance right now as your core pushes back against the encroaching chill. Such scheduling influences the close of every day. Dinners shift with the shortening light. Nourishment merges seamlessly into the wind down, inseparable from it. Images flicker in your mind of foragers coming back laden with kills in the frostiest seasons. The thrill is real, but duty tempers it instantly. Priority goes to vital sections first. Inner organs get devoured fresh and fast. Blubber gets portioned out carefully. Tougher portions hang to cure or get stashed. The freeze reshapes what's prized. Items overlooked in warmer times turn vital. Wisdom bends to the calendar's turn. Consumption levels of fat across tribes in the lean months differ by terrain and bounty, leaving gaps in the full story. Seaside dwellers drew most from ocean yields. Interior bands leaned on bigger beasts. Still, one truth binds them. Inner heat counted every bit as much as external fires. That reality sinks into you, right in your ribs. You adjust your position a touch, and your inhalations grow fuller. Heat radiates gradually from the center. Your digits stay limber. You test them with a flex and feel the response. This equilibrium isn't chance. Skimp on inner reserves, and limbs pay the price early on. Folks tune into these cues from the start. A prickle signals heat's revival. Deadness warns of peril closing in. You scan your form calmly, without fuss. A habit easily missed is reserving choice fat for the vulnerable, the aged and the young on the toughest evenings. They shed warmth quickest. Distribution turns deliberate, not haphazard. Equity in the cold isn't about splitting evenly. It's about wise allocation. You witness this unfold nearby, wordlessly integrated into the rhythm. No discussion needed. It just occurs. Tales surface in your thoughts of harsh winters when reserves dwindled. They're understated, not theatrical. Subtle cautions. They stress moderation, foresight, heeding appetite's call without surrendering to it wholly. The season calls for control, never harshness. You take in sufficient, sparing the extra. As flames die down to a murmur, your inner glow gains prominence. Coals flicker faintly, no longer dominant. Your frame assumes the lead. The slow burn of fat breakdown proceeds methodically, granting the blaze a break. Reserves are conserved. Dawn's labors will draw from them soon enough. Scholars sometimes argue over whether these feeding tactics stem from deliberate insight or ingrained custom. But in this moment, the line blurs. Insight thrives in practice, beyond mere talk. No explanation required to grasp that select bites ward off the freeze longer. It's evident in your bones. You rely on it. You observe how slumber arrives more readily when your form feels fortified. Gnawing want disrupts nights. So does the bite of frost. Banish them both, and repose sinks deeper. Tension eases from your frame. Your jaw relaxes. Breathing eases. Heat fades to a subtle hum, no longer commanding attention. For a passing second, contemporary cold weather eating crosses your mind. Meals so often sparse, severed from true chill. You ponder how folks now confuse satiety with sustaining fire. In this place, the gap is crystal clear. Mere volume without potency avails little. Focused sustenance carries the weight. Time drifts on. You stir once in the night, then drift off anew. The inner fire persists. No biting draft sneaks through. The haven stays hushed. The collective rises and falls as one. That earlier intake labors on, unseen yet indispensable. It dawns on you that enduring the freeze hinges on harmony between flesh and surroundings. Walls curb escaping heat. Layers guard the blood's flow. Sustenance stokes the blaze within. Dislodge a single element, and the whole falters. United, they forge endurance. Beyond the walls, the frost plunges to its nadir. Within, you hold firm, not feverish, not frozen, just even. That poise seems hard-won, timeless. As drowsiness reclaims you, it clicks. The bitterest darks aren't muscled through on grit alone. They're born on lore woven into daily ways. The timing of bites, choices of fare, measures of thrift. Here, grease and bone essence aren't indulgences. They're steadfast partners. Daybreak will arrive in time. When it does, motion will tap into the banked heat. For now, in this midnight hush, you surrender to ease, assured your vessel is provisioned. The chill lingers, but you've countered it from the core outward. As the gloom thickens once more, a gentler sensation emerges, softer than frost itself. The whisper of want, not the fierce pang that insists, but the muted nudge that scarcity is real. The season trains you to heed it steadily, sans alarm. Craving shifts from threat to messenger. You note it, weigh options. You inspect provisions once more, not from mistrust, but for the calm it brings. Packs rest in place. Vessels weigh true to form. This ritual anchors the spirit. Worry devours vitality swifter than any gale. You sense a growing calm after verifying that provisions for the coming day are secure. In the depths of winter, meals are deliberately modest, not skimpy, but precisely portioned. The goal is to sustain body heat, not to satisfy every craving. Experience has shown that a large meal close to bedtime might unsettle rest and squander vital energy on uneasy stirring. Nourishment, instead, is doled out thoughtfully throughout the daylight hours. Such careful timing ensures consistent vitality and curbs the urge to devour too much at the start of the chilly months. You settle into stillness, attuned to your body's signals. The glow from prior eating persists. Appetite stays subdued. This equilibrium is deliberate. Observations from winter encampments indicate a preference for reliable sustenance over erratic binges and shortages in enduring freezes. Dependability outweighed excess. You appreciate the insight in that preference. Sharing provisions now transcends mere politeness. It forms the framework of daily life. Allotments are handed out based on necessity, not just desire. Those exerting the most effort receive a bit extra. Resting individuals get sufficient amounts. Everyone counts. This method eases strains and averts grudges, which can splinter a collective quicker than deprivation alone. You recall a straightforward custom instilled in you, deceptively basic yet profound. Avoid solitary meals in winter if possible. Communal eating lets shares be monitored and fine-tuned. It also bolsters bonds of reliability. Reliability diminishes dread. Dread heightens want. Do you perceive these links? As supplies dip below projections, options adapt. Dishes grow plainer, diversity wanes, yet essentials endure. Lipids, proteins, adequate fibers for smooth gut function. This flexibility recurs in tales of enduring the season's bite. Instead of inflexible strategies, folks responded serenely to dwindling stocks. Alarm proved the greater foe. You ponder leaner times before Thor's coming. Oral histories treat those eras with nuance. They dwell more on choices than woes. tightening rations when, relocating sites when, venturing hunts amid the chill when. Such narratives instill moderation, absent gloom. You sense their influence as direction, not caution. The frost hones insight into group interactions. Need exposes traits. Open-handedness shines. So does self-interest. Thriving through brutal colds owed as much to unity as prowess. Exchanging heat and sustenance unites souls in manners mild weather overlooks. The season peels back facades. You observe discourse on edibles remains pragmatic. Scarcity gets no embellishment. Trials no exaggeration. This level-headedness directs attention to fixes. Griping drains resources. Strategizing safeguards them. You embrace that perspective effortlessly. A subtle yet vital ritual entails reserving crisis reserves. Untouched save in dire straits. Their existence is noted but undisturbed. Mere awareness offers mental ease. It permits routine allotments to flow without apprehension. You experience that reassurance presently, though you wish never to draw upon them. Doubts linger on the frequency of outright starvation prior to thaw, with records differing by locale and season. Unvarying is the stress on prompt shifts over frantic last resorts. Swift reactors to shrinking hordes fared better nourished than laggards. You cherish receiving that insight. As darkness deepens, appetite recedes softly. Heat from daytime fare upholds you. The frame adjusts to reduced intake sans rebellion if transitions unfold steadily. Such resilience ranks among the season's subtle boons. You realize requirements are slimmer than assumed if handled shrewdly. You recline once more, ear to the rhythms of breath nearby. It stays even, unhurried. No fidgeting disrupts. No stirrings from unease. This signals allotments hit the mark. Botched handling of eats impairs slumber. This evening, repose arrives smoothly. You muse fleetingly on contemporary dealings with want, frequently dictated by schedules over signals. Here, desire earns regard but not surrender. It integrates into the terrain, akin to frost or shadow, a force to manage, not banish. Nearing slumber's brink, a subtle assurance settles in. Want's sharpness no longer alarms. It prompts vigilance, foresight, generosity. These routines shield more potently than any lone helping. Beyond the walls, the freeze persists in its gradual toil. Within, poise endures. Need and chill attend, yet command no sway. Equilibrium prevails. That equilibrium marks the essence of seasonal endurance. You shut your lids, assured that dawn heralds identical deliberate acts. Consume adequately, hoard adequately, distribute adequately. This cadence propels you onward, evening by evening, till earth relents its clasp and bids heat back. Winter's nocturnal hush carries a timbre absent in warmer spans. It rings leaner, keener at the fringes. As you stir awake for a moment, a noise filters in ahead of any clear thinking. A far-off limb snapping, powder slipping off an overhang, the subtle whoosh of breeze skimming iced earth. Such noises aren't threats on their own, yet they demand your focus. You stay motionless and tune in intently. Stirring squanders heat. Alarm drains it faster. You categorize the noises based on what you know. That snap comes from frost-gripping timber. That gentle thud signals settling flakes. Your breaths ease once the surroundings click into place. The season imparts a lesson. Observe and hear before you act. In the chill, external clamor carries over greater distances. Crisp air transmits it without distortion. Footfalls register well before any sight of them. This alters your slumber. Even in repose, you hover on the edge of vigilance. Evidence from ancient settlements reveals that winter outposts arranged rest spots to catch sounds from doorways and clearings without obstruction. You sense that thoughtful layout in action at this moment. No intruder slips by undetected. Within the hut, acoustics shift. Curved surfaces dampen reverberations. Compacted soil soaks up tremors. The hush seems deliberate. Earlier that night, conversations were hushed too, as though the enclosure itself urged moderation. You recall the guidance against yelling inside winter dwellings. Boisterous noise depletes vitality and disrupts serenity. Serenity preserves body heat. Winter alters the way folks react to nocturnal disturbances. During milder months, an abrupt racket might spur instant motion. These days, you hold back initially. Evaluate. Choose. Numerous mishaps in the cold stem from hasty reactions born of fright, tripping on glaze, crashing into shadows. The season favors forbearance, and creature rustles afar, real but remote. The noise rings true, no peril. Beasts venture nearer to human havens come winter, lured by aromas and coziness. It's anticipated. You keep watch without worry. Discerning key sounds is an acquired art. Seniors demonstrated it through deeds, highlighting nuances instead of dire cautions. Flurries keep drifting down softly. Every crystal hushes the surroundings more. The dwelling falls even stiller as accumulations mount beyond the walls. This quiet isn't void, it's a buffer. Clatter buried in drifts won't jolt you. You appreciate this peace, aware it's temporary. Gusts will pick up, blizzards will strike. A minor routine emerges when a companion shifts close by. They halt, attend, then proceed with care. Nobody bolts up unless an oddity truly invades. This collective poise maintains the haven's tranquility. Slumber endures viable, even with alertness simmering near. You ponder how the audio of winter darkness molded tales and convictions. Extended gloom fosters fancy. Odd racket sparks interpretation. But here, those accounts stay practical. A vixen, a drifted mound, a rigid oak. Accurate labels temper dread. Dread saps warmth. You sense the wisdom of that mindset rooting deep within. The flames murmur when a branch relocates. A subdued crackle. Coals flare up before dimming. The blaze speaks its own dialect. You're attuned to it. Variations in its tone signal when to add wood or clear, compacted cinders. You hold off for now. The rhythm holds firm. Debates linger on the extent of nighttime vigilance in seasonal camps versus other times, though numerous records point to alternating watchfulness over strict patrols. Folks dozed in relays, guided by mutual duty rather than fixed timetables. You experience that reliance presently. You're part of a collective ear. You ease your stance a touch, mindful not to rouse the group. The pelts whisper faintly. That's a reassuring, known murmur. It signals another's wakefulness and attentiveness. Collective vigilance eases personal load. Enduring the freeze hinges on this tacit teamwork. Beyond, the beast departs. Stillness reclaims the air. You allow your respiration to lengthen once more. Limbs unwind. Warmth lingers in place. You've mastered ignoring every rustle. Tranquility safeguards heat and sharpness. You muse for an instant on how today's evenings brim with relentless din. Gadgets, vehicles, ceaseless synthetic clamor that offers no respite. In this era, every sound holds weight. Each carries a message. That turns heating into something meaningful, not draining. As drowsiness draws you down anew, you stay subtly synced to your surroundings. Visions drift in and out without seizing control. This blend of doze and alertness feels innate. Winter's repose isn't the total blackout of balmier days. It's an alliance of renewal and preparedness. Time slips by. The frost beyond hits its nadir. The interior holds firm. Audio persists in its subdued dialogue. No urgency arises. That's data too. Right before daybreak, the timbre alters yet again. Breezes die down. Precipitation ceases. Existence hangs in pause. You perceive the transition prior to any glimpse. First light nears, though visibility hasn't broken. You sink into full slumber once more, certain the dark has been traversed well. Attentiveness ensured your security. Endurance against the chill came from patience. The noises of the winter evening have lost their enigma, turning instead into patterns you can recognize and understand. As your slumber grows heavier, a quiet confidence settles in. You'll sense any real shift in the surroundings. For now, you surrender to the hush that the season has bestowed, enveloped in a tranquility that shields you just as surely as stone barriers or a blazing hearth. In the depths of winter, particularly under cover of darkness, your respiration draws your attention. Not from any strain, but from its vital rhythm. You rouse for a moment, attuned to the atmosphere around you, its flow, the way it settles coolly against your skin. Unlike milder breezes, frigid air dips downward, grows denser, and clings if you permit it. Mastering coexistence with it demands forbearance. You draw in a measured breath, sensing the initial chill transform into subtle heat as it travels inward. When you release it, a wispy vapor drifts out, scarcely perceptible in the low glow. This subtle cue reveals much. The enclosure retains enough heat, yet allows circulation to prevent staleness. Achieving such equilibrium wasn't instantaneous. It evolved over endless cold spells, through experimentation and understated refinements. The gaps in the structure are intentional and minimal, not haphazard flaws but crafted passages to direct airflow precisely. Rising warmth from exhalations and embers ascends naturally, while cooler currents gather below. By fostering a soft exchange instead of a fierce draft, the space remains viable for breathing without squandering precious heat. Traces of ancient winter homes frequently reveal thoughtfully placed apertures, adapted subtly across cycles, hinting at ongoing tweaks over rigid blueprints. You perceive this adaptability in action right now. You observe how folks turn their faces away from each other while resting, a simple tilt to prevent excess humidity on communal wraps. Wetness draws in the freeze and fosters sickness. In the season's grip, minor issues escalate swiftly. A persistent hack turns worrisome as icy drafts amplify every inhalation. A light trace of wood smoke lingers, but it's faint, evoking the earlier blaze that warmed the area before fading. Managing fumes is key to enduring the cold. Excess chafes the senses, while insufficient flow smothers gradually. Striking the right measure came from watching closely, not rote lessons. You picture past seasons where groups mastered this through trial and error, tweaking vents by instinct alone. As you regard the others in repose, a quiet custom emerges. Lips remain shut where feasible. Inhaling through the nostrils preheats the air for the chest. Gulping in frost directly can jolt you awake or drain your energy. The young are softly prompted to nose breathe in chilly times. You follow suit instinctively, keeping your windpipe at ease. Slumber returns profoundly. Tales surface in your mind of enclosures buttoned up too snugly in gales, confining the haze within. Such accounts are shared in subdued tones. Son theatrics, gentle nudges into recollection, not alarms. Wisdom endures when embedded in lived experience, free of dread. This evening, that insight ensures a gentle current, just sufficient to nurture you. Debates persist on whether these winter havens saw daily fine-tuning or weeks of stability, but clues point to frequent minor shifts. A slit eased after fresh powder, a flap tightened against gusts. You value this attunement. The dwelling inhales and exhales because its builders willed it so. You sense the heat pooling low once more, where forms cluster without reluctance. Up high, the air stays brisker. Such stratification maintains comfort for all. You keep your head from lifting excessively. Even that minor shift would expose you to chillier strata. The cold instills thrift in every gesture. Her steady routine includes softly wiping away interior rime when it forms. Such crystals signal frozen dampness from the air. Ignored. They thaw and soak the linens. An unseen hand handled this before, unobserved. The interior stays arid. Parched atmosphere eases respiration. Unfettered breaths sustain restful nights. You attune to your own rhythm easing. In breaths, feel full and satisfying. Out breaths drift leisurely. Worry often constricts the lungs, intensifying the bite of frost. Steady patterns mellow it. Winter clarifies this bond between respiration and coziness. Sound habits preserve body heat. Flawed ones let the freeze encroach. For a fleeting instant, you contrast this with sealed contemporary structures relying on machines to push air through. Here, currents flow organically, shaped by intent and vigilance. The outcome is more harmonious. The refuge adapts to the elements, yielding where wise, preserving habitability. A companion nearby stirs, sighing lengthily. The noise comforts you. All seem to respire freely. No ongoing rasps. No abrupt arousals in discomfort. These understated indicators outweigh any gauge. They affirm the harmony endures. Beyond, a breeze grazes by anew, yet it doesn't batter the barriers. The structure yields subtly. Currents weave through the ports and depart. No abrupt gust of cold sneaks in. That's a clear indicator the vents are positioned just right. The chill drifts by without lingering. As the hours stretch on, your respiration fades into the rhythm of the dark. It no longer demands your focus. Achieving that invisibility is the true mark of success. Once breath recedes from your awareness, the setup proves its reliability. The season insists on vigilance, yet it offers reprieve in return. With everything tuned properly to permit true repose, you drift further into slumber, assured the circulation will persist as required. The dwelling won't rob you of air. The frost won't twist it into agony. Respiration and heat coexist in harmonious silence. Dawn will usher in activity, rising haze, and fresh tweaks. For the moment, darkness simply invites inhalation and renewal. Both come without effort. The freeze lingers nearby, yet it's held at bay. Within, the atmosphere pulses gently, reliable and gentle, sufficient to guide you through yet another frigid evening. Sickness shifts character in the depths of the season. It emerges not as an abrupt conclusion, but as a creeping discord, a persistent hack that overstays, a weight in the torso unwilling to yield to fire, a frame unresponsive to the blaze as expected. The freeze reveals frailties subtly, sans spectacle. That's precisely why vigilance carries such weight. Upon rising, you attune to these cues not just within, but among companions. Respiratory rhythms, stirrings in repose, faint murmurs of unease. The cold won't let affliction slide unnoticed. As pressure mounts from without, even slight ailments can escalate to peril if overlooked. This truth sinks in intuitively. Nurturing weaves into endurance. Folks reposition tenderly to draw the frailest toward the glow. One with labored inhales settles by the flames. Another running hot is spared excessive dampness. Equilibrium guides, steering clear of excess. The blaze aids, but excess scorches vitality. Fresh drafts comfort, yet abundance summons shivers. Such refinements unfold soundlessly, unspoken. Remnants in seasonal abodes hint that healing areas weren't distinct chambers, but adaptable areas amid communal havens. Mats could be shifted, blaze modulated, drafts fine-tuned. Such flexibility enabled tending without full severance. You sense its vital role. Solitude invites the chill. Chill aggravates the malady. One understated ritual persists. Infusions delivered in measured sips, frequently. Though hunger wanes, fluid heat penetrates where denser fare fails. It smooths airflow. It anchors the form. Recollection stirs of a modest vessel passed your way before, urged for gentle tastings over hasty swallows. That echo surfaces as solace now. Botanicals emerge discreetly in seasonal tending, serving not as panaceas but as aids to temper hacks. Some settle the gut or quiet agitation. Far from wonders, they bolster. Familiarity with preservable flora proved crucial, certain ones air-dried in advance. Reserved for such evenings, debates linger on the reach of particular remedies across territories, yet traces reveal consistent application in frosty settings. This pattern points to confidence built gradually, not chance. You absorb that assurance presently. Names of components elusive. You observe the subtle spacing granted to the ailing amid shared coziness. Proximity calibrated with intent. Sufficient proximity for thermal constancy. Ample separation for unhindered respiration. Humidity accelerates contagion in confined quarters. Seasonal nurturing hinges on this nuanced equilibrium. Repose turns therapeutic as well. The afflicted are urged toward profound quiet, buffered from stray disturbances. Tales hush sooner, gestures mellow. The haven stills. Tranquility fosters mending. You perceive the collective's seamless contribution, sans grievance. You reflect on how the frost reshapes views on well-being. In milder times, ailment might be born through motion. Amid ice, stillness turns indispensable. Strain hampers rebound. This tempo alteration safeguards existence. The season enforces forbearance. A quiet custom entails preheating linens for those gripped by unrelenting shivers. Pebbles warmed judiciously by the hearth, bundled in position at extremities or flanks. Degrees shy of scalding, merely to coax blood flow. This method echoes across icy heritage, born of watchfulness over decree. You register its prompt efficacy. Respiratory tones mellow with dispersing heat. Hacks subside, sinews loosen. Such incremental gains count. Seasonal tending prioritizes staving off worsening over swift cures. You embrace the pace of restoration, particularly against the freeze's defiance. Tales persist of outbreaks enduring despite diligence, recounted with restraint. Absent recrimination, they underscore boundaries. Despite wisdom, mastery eluded every result. Such candor tempers hopes. The frost imparts modesty with expertise. You observe the way meals are tailored for the sick, Foods that go down easily, packed with sustaining power, yet light on the system. Soups, mashed items, fats blended softly with heat. Such selections nurture without overwhelming. A sense of thanks washes over you for this thoughtful precision. As darkness thickens, you tune in once more. The rhythm of breaths stays even. No fresh signs of discomfort emerge. This comfort lets the whole group ease into deeper slumber. Collective watchfulness fades into collective repose. You ponder how handling sickness in winter relies on the group's support far more than any lone person's vigor. Healing never happens in isolation amid the freeze. Heat, sustenance, and focus become communal assets. This communal effort forges tighter connections while safeguarding well-being. The chill beyond persists unyieldingly. Within, though, tending fosters a haven of endurance. The dwelling traps the coziness. The people cradle each other. Sickness lingers, yet it's confronted with wisdom and forbearance. You ease back into rest, aware that any further stirring will bring ears attuned to vigilant tending. These frosty evenings call for this understated duty. It weighs lightly. It's merely woven into surviving as one. With the hush returning, your focus turns to those requiring the keenest watch. As the season clamps down harder, the young pant more rapidly. The old draw breaths more languidly. Frames nearing exhaustion betray the frost quicker than the sturdy. You pick up on it intuitively, no words needed. The cold hones your sense of fragility. You spot the quiet rearrangements in sleeping spots driven by this insight. Infants are nestled where heat pools instinctively, not right by the flames, but close enough to gain without peril. Seniors find spots shielded from gusts, where the atmosphere stays constant till dawn. These placements unfold soundlessly. No debates, guided by years of habit over edicts. You recall your own tiny self, curled amid forms radiating boundless heat. Those long, secure winter eves. That recollection shapes your actions today. Safeguarding turns reflexive. You smooth coverings around a nearby little form, mindful not to rouse them. The transfer of coziness hits right away. The freeze impacts kids uniquely. They shed warmth swiftly. They fidget without thinking. They rouse at the slightest. Winter tending evolves to match. Additional wraps are layered on. Activity is prompted pre-bedtime to fire up the limbs, then eased to a halt. Melodies serve beyond soothing. They guide respiration. Cadence aligns the frame. A faint tune from before echoes, its soothing influence abiding. The aged carry distinct demands. Their body heat rises gradually. Their joints lock up. Abrupt chills cut deeper. You see how they're eased into easing postures, how extremities are padded to ease pressure. Respect mingles here with utility. The season insists on streamlined compassion. Ease bolsters vitality. Vitality upholds existence. Traces unearthed in wintry dwellings frequently reveal deliberate stacking of linens near elder and child zones, hinting at ongoing focus on such essentials through seasons. You link to those ancient decisions in this moment. They resonate in your gestures as you fold, reposition, and ease others in. Rations shift too. Lighter builds get regular boosts of heat via sips and oils. The wise receive feeds sooner at dusk, letting processin aid in building inner glow before peak freeze. These timed gestures are understated, yet crucial. You sense the space stilling after needs are met. A nearly affectionate ritual persists. In the dark hours, one stirs momentarily to feel brows and palms, not in worry, but with care. Overheat worries as much as under. Equilibrium once more. All circles back to poise. You step up for your watch wordlessly, then doze off anew. The young occasionally twitch from visions edged keen by the season's gloom. At such moments, soothing arrives swift. A palm on the spine, a murmur, no drawn-out tales. Steady nearness outshines talk. Dread hastens warmth's escape. Security hoards it. You witness a kid quieten in moments, breaths decelerating, form melting into mutual heat. The old doze more shallowly, rousing frequently. This isn't deemed frailty. It layers into broader alertness. They detect shifts in gusts or crackles ahead of the rest. Their alertness bolsters the circle's guard. The freeze reallocates duties subtly, valuing varied capabilities. No uniform method exists for tending the exposed across territories. Certain winters bite fiercer. Certain bands boast fuller stores. Others lean harder on motion or joint havens. The thread that endures is mindfulness. The cold penalizes oversight more than naivety. You muse on how ailment entwines with years during icy spells. The young rebound fast but catch bugs readily. The season fend off bugs longer but mend gradually. Tending bends to fit. You witness heated fluids extended with steadiness. You catch soft prompts to unwind. Care in the winter unfolds without haste. Hurrying only invites errors. The tales shared at the start of the evening carry an added layer of meaning in these times. They foster a sense of ongoing connection. Young ones learn that past winters have been endured successfully. The wise ones recognize their own wisdom echoed in the words. Such interactions build bonds spanning ages. Strong bonds ease tension. Tension drains the spirit. You observe that solitude in sleep is rare during these cold seasons, only when unavoidable. Being alone heightens dangers for those who can't react swiftly. Communal areas enable prompt aid should a change occur. It brings you comfort to realize that if you stirred feeling poorly, another would spot it before the chill worsened things. A subtle arrangement in the bedding catches your eye. Gentler fabrics close to the skin. Sturdier padding beneath the spine and pelvis. These decisions avoid spots of strain that hinder blood flow. Good flow distributes heat evenly. The way one lies in slumber turns into an act of tending. As darkness thickens, the freeze beyond dips once more to its chilliest depths. Within the enclosure, heat persists reliably. You stay alert for any hints of unease. Nothing emerges. Rhythms of breath stay steady. Peace envelops the space. That peace stems from careful watchfulness, not strain. You ponder the shift winter brings to duty. During milder times, self-reliance seems feasible. In the grip of frost, mutual reliance proves vital. The young, the season, and everyone else lean on each other. Endurance binds folks closer than any formal pact. Contemporary ways frequently view fragility as a flaw to conceal or fix in a flash. In this place, it's embraced and woven into daily life. Thriving through winter doesn't require uniform robustness from all. It calls for distributing resilience among the group. You ease back into slumber, assured the setup endures. The most fragile find safeguarding. Others stay vigilant. This harmony lets all slumber more soundly. Beyond the walls, the frost stands resolute and relentless. Within, tending blunts its bite. The season's harshness lingers, yet it's countered with mindfulness, forbearance, and collective heat. As drowsiness reclaims you, appreciation swells for this subtle web of support that requires so little yet offers abundantly. Dawn inches nearer through another night. The young drift into dreams. The aged repose. The haven stands firm, and the winter's edge, despite its keenness, is held respectfully apart. In the endless dark of night, folks seek beyond mere shelter and sustenance. They seek purpose. You sense this turn as flames wane and tones hush. The cold season calls for narratives not merely for diversion, but for framework. Unfilled shadows can unsettle thoughts if ignored. Tales provide a solid perch for the mind. You remain still, absorbing as a voice rises softly. It's even, measured, deliberate. The tale rings familiar, and that sameness fuels its strength. Anticipating the sequence lets tension melt from your frame. No jolt lurks to unsettle. In an unpredictable outer world, the known brings solace. These accounts tend to revolve on cycles of time over single happenings, recalling a prior winter's arrival, describing how communities attune themselves to its signals, explaining how restraint preserved existence. You see, the narrative avoids praising hardship. It highlights perseverance, attentiveness, selecting the precise instant for action. This approach carries weight. The frost outside scorns recklessness. You sense the haven attune itself as the group eases into quietude. Even the little ones fall silent. Cadence supplants talk. Phrases emerge gradually, with pauses in between. Such tempo soothes respiration. Steady breaths sustain inner heat. You grasp the link intuitively, without dissection. Melodies may come next. Basic, looping, simple to recall. The loops serve a purpose. They offer the thoughts a reliable grasp. Voices uniting in song align inhalations. Aligned breaths heat the atmosphere. Heated air clings. You notice the coziness intensify a touch as harmonies merge and then ebb. Certain tunes are little beyond murmurs. They occupy the air without claiming focus. You lower your head, allowing the tones to envelop you. The resonance acts as another barrier. It dulls the night's sharp borders. Items might circulate in silence. A sculpted bit of timber, a clutch of plumes, a modest token laden with significance. Contact grounds you, sensing the grain wards off mental wanderings into fretfulness. These motions stay tender, no pressure applied. Joining happens by gentle invitation alone. You perceive how each retelling tweaks the lore a bit. Elements alter, focus glides. Such adaptability keeps the lore pertinent through varying colds. Precision yields to pertinence. Lore evolves like the dwellings and habits. The blaze stirs to the speech, sparking momentarily as a branch is shifted, then quieting once more. Glow dances over features. Countenances ease. Collective focus forges security. The season feeds on separation. These instances resist it. The young start to gape sleepily. Their forms heed the signal. Narratives herald approaching repose. Slumber trails customs more readily than orders. Your eyelids begin to droop as the well-known words loop once more. To the elders, these tales provide a deeper gift, a sense of unbroken lineage. They catch whispers from their past mentors, from harsh winters they've outlasted. Their attendance lends gravity to every phrase. Their attentive ears carry equal importance to their voices. The narratives frequently revolve around nurturing bonds, ways communities looked after each other, errors mended with grace, not disgrace, endurance distributed among all. These insights seep into consciousness subtly, poised to emerge precisely when called upon. You reflect on how contemporary evenings buzz with diversions instead of traditions, displays, clamor, perpetual newness. In this place, recurrence is embraced. It anchors without numbing. The season calls for that anchor. With the final tale dissolving, quiet descends softly. No one scrambles to break it. This hush now seems deserved. It cradles the lingering heat from tales and tones. Your breaths deepen, and serenity flows into your core. The dwelling eases into slumber together. The blaze fades lower, chatter ends. The darkness outside no longer seems void. It feels embraced. The chill beyond stays relentless. Within, purpose has blunted its bite. The stories fulfilled their role quietly. They readied thoughts for repose. Much like meals nourished forms, you settle in, and slumber comes effortlessly, unhindered. Custom has led you to this point. These wintry evenings no longer drag on forever. They gain form, substance, and eventual closure. As visions stir, they bear traces of tones and coziness. The dark persists, yet you stop tracking its span. Purpose supplants anticipation, transforming everything. Repose alters in the cold months. You sense it while floating between wakefulness and depth, not plunging straight in, but navigating strata of renewal. Shadows endure longer these days, and your frame adapts by expanding rest into a broader, more yielding state. You rouse for a moment, then ease back without irritation. The cadence suits the time of year. You observe how visions manifest more subtly. They hush, sparse in detail. At times they resemble musings over plots. Visions float by softly, edges blurred. This milder reverie eases the return to alertness. No jolts hurl you into the frost. You merely rise, scan the space, and descend once more. Seasonal slumber doesn't aim to blot out perception. It sustains a faint link to reality. The blaze's crackle reaches you. A nearby stir registers. The enclosure's firmness reassures. Such cues comfort, letting renewal intensify instead of halting. Your core cools a touch in repose, as usual, but harmlessly. Collective heat and barriers temper the shift. You tuck in closer, unaware. Reflex now handles what deliberate focus would squander. Duration shifts oddly in this realm. Absent glaring illumination or rigid timetables, renewal tracks bodily signals. You pause when weary. You stir when vigilance revives. Such adaptability fosters healing. In seasonal gatherings, folks dozed in phases, not solid blocks, granting time to thaw, recalibrate, and recharge. You flow with it instinctively, unnamed. A faint noise pulls you alert. Another tends the blaze with fresh timber. The light flares momentarily. Warmth radiates briefly. It brushes your skin, then holds at a soft gleam. Your lids stay shut. The audio alone conveys the act. You rely on others' vigilance during your ease. Your inhales slow deeper. In, out. Every cycle completes fully. Frosty drafts lack bite. Coziness stays near. This comfort lets sinews shed the day's strain. Chilly toil weighs heavy. Renewal mends motion's toll. You envision traversing drifts with ease. Steps stay atop, cradled lightly. The vision soothes, not startles. It mirrors snow's shift from foe to friend. Visions mirror corporeal lessons. You surface short with tranquility. A mild hack sounds, then quiets. You mark it mentally, untroubled, no haste, no dread. The cold season hones discernment of racket from alert. Even in half slumber, this knack safeguards renewal. You adjust faintly, sensing the padding yield. Straight a hold firm. No chill seeps through. Such reliability invites profound repose. Minor heat lapses can rouse completely. This evening, none intrude. As minutes accumulate, your form weaves through renewal and notice repeatedly. Each loop relaxes you further. Fibers unwind. Limbs ease. The outer freeze recedes, nearly conceptual. Inner glow persists, vivid. You ponder fleetingly how current repose chases seamless blackout. Here it's tidal flow, ebbing and surging, bearing you along. The motif fits the frost. It preserves readiness, sans depletion. Eventually, you rouse enough to glance about. The fire's glow has dimmed, shadows hang still. All around, people seem at peace. A subtle contentment washes over you. This embodies a solid winter evening, unremarkable, yet flawless. You settle back and welcome sleep's return. Your thoughts ease into the flow, unhurried. Ideas fade gently. Time slips from your grasp. The darkness simply progresses. Beyond the walls, the chill persists in its relentless rhythm. Within, your form tends to its quiet tasks, mending, preserving, fine-tuning. Warmth and slumber team up to sustain your vitality. As first light nears, you perceive the change before any gleam breaks through. The blackness alters its texture. Noises subtly evolve. Birds stay hushed, yet the atmosphere lightens. You rouse once more, knowing daybreak looms close. Still, you linger in bed. Getting up prematurely squanders precious heat. Patience pays off in these early hours, just as it does through the dark. You savor a bit more repose, allowing the final phase of rest to complete. When your eyelids finally part, refreshment greets you, not fog. The broken rhythm of sleep has served well. You're primed to act if required. The frost hasn't drained your vigor. Slumber has preserved it. You ease upright and assess your state. Limbs toasty, thoughts sharp, environment serene. Yet another winter evening has concluded uneventfully. Such triumphs whisper rather than shout, but their value endures. It dawns on you that enduring the season's rest isn't mere tolerance. It's crafted, refined, mastered, grasped fully. It transforms from foe to partner. As you gear up for what's next, this insight lingers. Repose isn't mere stillness. It's a vital survival tool. Through the freeze, it primes the frame for the chill's next challenge. Pale, slender rays of dawn finally pierce the space. Along with them arrives a soft nudge. The season's grip varies by locale. Even cocooned in comfort, you intuit that these safeguards wouldn't translate seamlessly elsewhere. Terrain molds the cold, and the cold molds its inhabitants. That reality sinks in as you envision distant spots stirring beneath identical frost. Up north, amid sparse woods where earth locks in ice for much of the cycle, the season stretches deeper, bleaker, more unyielding. There, homes defy not only the bite, but perpetual gloom and gusts that show no mercy. Drift becomes barrier and cover. Travel adheres to rigid patterns. You envision heat there hinging on sealed voids and fuel that smolders steadily over endless days. The freeze doesn't tease, it dominates. Down across vast grasslands, the weather shifts gears. Gusts pose the prime threat, sweeping exposed expanses and robbing insulation swifter than mere chill. You picture dwellings designed to duck the gales, curved, squat, rooted deep. Agility counts heavily. Amid tempests, shifting to superior terrain might spell the difference. Flames demand vigilant cover, flurries build rapidly, then melt away just as swift. In wooded areas, the winter wraps close rather than lays bare. Foliage buffers the breeze, though it also holds in dampness. Powder accumulates soundlessly on limbs, only to crash down abruptly with a crack. You reflect on how refugees in such spots must vent uniquely, expelling wet vapors while cradling heat. Timber abounds, yet controlling fumes grows finicky. The woods shield, but they require vigilance. Even farther, in zones folks deem mild, evenings can still snap with edge. Arid lands chill abruptly after sunset. Rock retains the day's fire momentarily, then yields it to shadow. You sense how the season demands barriers against nocturnal drops, not prolonged ices. Blazes stay modest. Garb adjusts to wild day-to-night shifts. Hydration rivals heat in urgency. It strikes you that winter weaves no universal tale. Every terrain imparts its distinct endurance lesson. Methods vital in this spot would falter beyond. Wisdom stays rooted, exact, aligned to specific soil and heavens. That's why broad strokes crumble fast. The season demands detail. You ponder how folks discern these variances ages before charts or gauges. Journeys expose the gaps at once. Powder weighed denser in one area, flakier in another. Breezes acted distinct over flats versus thickets. Evenings plunged quicker by rock than dirt. Such insights drove decisions swiftly. Shifts came naturally. No sharp divides mark these seasonal ways. Edges soften, steps border groves. Groves yield to peaks. Tactics mingle and merge. Folks adopt notions, tweak them, drop the unfit. Endurance bends, never breaks rigid. You picture journeying between zones in the depths. Lessons from home would aid, but only so far. You'd need to tune in anew, observe afresh, sense once more. The cold would debunk notions bluntly. That grounded approach sustains life. How provisions endure alters by territory. Shelter designs vary as well. Even sleeping setups evolve. In tougher environments, people huddle more closely. In gentler areas, there's a bit more room to spread out. These subtle tweaks might seem minor, yet they build up to create true endurance. You realize how errors crop up when newcomers treat winter as if it's the same everywhere. Techniques suited to wooded areas seem inefficient on open grasslands. Northern approaches appear overdone down south. Every practice fits only its own terrain. Winter punishes blind imitation. You ponder the ways this local wisdom spreads via tales from journeys, unions that span terrains, exchanges that move not only items, but also customs. A traveler comes back with a fresh technique for piling snow or framing an entryway. It's put to the test. If it proves useful, it endures. Otherwise, it vanishes. You appreciate the details of your home ground. You're attuned to its gusts, its drifts, its cadence. Such closeness eases the labor. It transforms mere endurance into everyday habit, not constant battle. Winter shifts from adversary to companion. As dawn lightens, you envision these varied winters spreading across the land simultaneously. Distinct noises, varied dwellings, unique fixes. But a common hushed aim binds them, preserving heat, securing meals, greeting another sunrise. This insight fosters unity over separation. Folks in distant spots pursue the identical meticulous efforts, just with their own implements and surroundings. The season links them via mutual vigilance. You stand gradually, gearing up for what's ahead. The chores in store will align with this locale, this chill, this instant. You hold no false belief in a universal fix. Rather, you hold esteem for the array of responses to the freeze. Emerging into the glow, you're anchored by this insight. Winter differs, yet wisdom flexes. That flexibility has guided generations through endless dark hours like those you've endured. Certain evenings give fair notice, while others strike abruptly, laden with unexpected force. You sense this one gathering well ahead of its peak. The atmosphere grows dense, breezes halt, then lash harder. Flakes that drifted softly now whip with intent. Such an evening challenges all your skills, not from strangeness, but from its call for exactness. You act sooner than typical, fastening down whatever possible. The opening is tightened a touch, stray items inspected, logs drawn nearer. These steps stay calm. They stem from habit, not haste. When the cold intensifies, swiftness arises from experience. You rely on your fingers to handle the rest. Beyond, clouds vanish in swirling white. Sight narrows to mere steps away. Noise alters as well. Gusts howl irregularly, then plunge into thick quiet. You tune in for rhythms amid the turmoil. This gale ebbs and flows. It reveals clues. The dwelling needs bracing from shifting directions. You enter and sense ease at once. The walls stand firm, though this evening will strain them further. The blaze requires watchful tending. Overfed, it chokes with fumes as drafts disrupt the draft. Underfed, heat slips away fast. You stoke lightly, observing the blaze's reaction. It builds gradually, then steadies to a steady light. Folks draw nearer instinctively. Forms press into collective heat. This isn't mere coziness. It's practicality. In extreme frost, each bit of warmth counts. One's lost calories warm the next. With proximity, you notice the air level out as all adjust. Drifts now batter the walls more fiercely. You catch the rustles and bumps. Mass builds up. It aids somewhat. Blankets of snow shield, but excess load strains the frame. You ear for odd groans beyond routine shifts. All clear for now. Vigilance persists. One ventures out to brush buildup from a key spot, moving deliberately, swiftly, then retreating. Time outdoors stays brief. Judgment is key. Frequent trips drain strength. Delay invites failure. Such equilibrium comes from past seasons' hard lessons etched in memory. Within, breaths stay even. Few words pass. Silence preserves concentration. Words disrupt. Now exchanges happen via looks and subtle shifts. Mutual awareness trumps commands. Blizzards favor teams that sync without noise. You detect chills seeping up from below. The gales altered the currents. You tuck an extra cover under the rests, reusing what's at hand instead of seeking more. It saves supplies and tackles the issue head-on. The fix takes hold. Frost pulls back once more. These evenings drag on endlessly. You cease tracking time. Instead, you gauge by inspections. Blaze stable, frame intact. Your breath steadies. Every check that passes marks a minor triumph, propelling you onward. There's no room for worry here. It squanders focus. The gale surges once more, fiercer this time. The hut creaks softly in reply, then falls quiet. That noise isn't a breakdown. It's the structure bending and finding fresh stability. You rely on this because it's a pattern you've encountered previously. Unfamiliar noises would unsettle you, while these known ones provide comfort. A person stirs and topples a minor item. The clatter cuts through the hush amid the blasts. Everyone halts for a second, ears attuned. Silence follows. Tension eases once again. Errors stay handleable as long as concentration holds firm. The blaze's heat disperses irregularly amid the tempest. Currents of air fluctuate without pause. You shift position with care, seeking a spot where the glow lingers. This adjustment is measured and unhurried. Abrupt motions invite chilly drafts and upset the harmony. You nestle in and sense the coziness seeping back bit by bit. Meals are sparse on evenings such as these. Digesting pulls vitality inward. You hold off on food until activity or mending demands it. Warm beverages circulate with caution instead. This fluid heat bolsters blood flow, minus taxing the frame. You drink in measured sips, reclaiming poise. The flakes keep building. Eventually, distinct patterns fade into a steady weight. That signals substantial buildup. You note it inwardly. Should it persist, a future sweep-out will be required. Action waits for now. Momentum governs all. Tonight's chill bites sharper than typical, probing digits even through wrappings. You counter with subtle motions confined to the enclosure, bending, clenching, stretching with restraint. Blood courses better. You steer clear of perspiration. Dampness could swiftly turn the dark lethal. Panic stays absent. No urgent tones rise. This serenity stems from past encounters with such evenings. Fierce frost forfeits some menace when its rhythms grow familiar. Peril lingers, yet patterns emerge. You observe the young ones staying composed, bundled snug against the gale's fury. The aged slumber lightly, their wakefulness aiding the collective alertness. Roles emerge unbidden. The season redistributes duties organically. At last, the breeze alters course. Blasts soften in ferocity. Precipitation lightens a touch. You perceive the shift arriving subtly. The hut's burden eases. Noises turn gentler. The turmoil ebbs away. Celebration waits. Tempests can rebound abruptly. Watchfulness endures. The flames stay tamed. Sleep spots remain orderly. The company clusters tight. Only prolonged peace permits limbs to unwind. Weariness descends, and you yield to profounder repose. The peak trial has receded. The dwelling has validated its worth anew. Wisdom endures. The frost has strained fiercely, yet met its match. Slumber overtakes you heavily when it arrives. This surpasses ordinary renewal forged by unwavering vigilance. Your form eases strain methodically. Visions stay remote. You doze as one who has fulfilled vital labors. Dawn will disclose the gale's remnants, piles, altered landscapes, fresh trials, but those await. Presently you recharge assured that the bitterest vigil has yielded and survival persists. That certainty holds its own solace. When light reemerges post such a vigil, it seems diluted, as though the onslaught has stripped the atmosphere. Awakening dawn's gradual, frame weighted yet whole. The freeze prevailed not. It probed, bore down, then departed. You pause to register this contrast, to battling the elements. No triumphs register here. All resonates with adaptation. You rise with caution, attuned first. Quietude post-extreme chill carries a unique timbre. Gals cease shoving. Flurries quit pounding. What's left is profound, near reverent hush. This juncture exposes oversights, an overlooked gap, a slack joint, a spot where accumulation strained excess. You survey the space with poised alertness. Minor flaws surface, they invariably do. Dampness from condensed vapor, a narrow intrusion of powder at the doorway. These aren't defeats, they're insights. You address them sequentially, wipe frost, realign a flap. The hut rebounds at once. Comfort evens out anew. You venture out momentarily, sensing the realm's reconfiguration. White forms reshape. Known routes blur or vanish. Heaps rise from nowhere. Hence, flexibility trumps might. The frost remaps at will. Each sunrise demands relearning the lay. Travel weighs more now. Powder resists. You moderate speed, allowing limbs to sink anew. Post-storm thrift evolves. Prior trails may prove obsolete. You select your path according to the snow's current permissions, rather than relying on past routes. Such adaptability prevents premature fatigue. You observe the shift in tool usage following these chilly evenings. Snowshoes appear earlier than usual. Burdens are reduced in weight. Duties get ranked with precision. Not all chores demand immediate attention. The season imparts lessons in prioritization. Gathering wood takes precedence, followed by fortifying the dwelling. All other matters can hold off. Within the community, motion is subdued. Haste has no place. Restoration holds equal importance to action. Frames that remained rigid for too long require a more delicate approach now. You extend your limbs gradually, sensing the rigidity melt away without strain. Even with careful handling, the chill imprints its effects. Dismissing those signs risks harm. You distribute nourishing basic meals that provide warmth. No frills involved. The form craves sustenance to rebound from strain. Heat seeps back in bit by bit. Talk stays hushed. It appears everyone grasps that this day calls for avoiding needless toil. The winter permits output, yet strictly under its conditions. You reflect on how enduring in this realm hinges more on precise reactions to the surroundings than on overpowering them. As the frost deepens, you reinforce your routines. When it softens, you relax them. This pattern cycles on. It's understated, yet it works. In distant areas past this haven, folks tackle the cold through relentless pushing for ease. You perceive the flaws in that method. Labor absent adaptation depletes resources. Tuning without alarm safeguards them. You glance at your companions discreetly. Expressions show weariness but composure. No traces of unease. No persistent chill. Such indicators confirm the previous darkness was navigated successfully. Assurance grows from understated triumphs, accumulated over countless instances, not from bold displays. Beyond the enclosure, the terrain lingers. It neither favors nor penalizes. It merely persists. You align with its tempo. You clear drifts only where essential. You retain them where they aid. No sweeping actions required. The season demands no theatrics. As daylight molds into its fresh form, you grasp that thriving amid this isn't merely weathering the harshest instant. It's the capacity to persist unbroken, to adjust sans bitterness, to mend without haste. You step back indoors for a short pause, permitting the coziness to penetrate further. Pausing post-exertion carries no disgrace. The winter honors energy savers as much as judicious spenders. A subtle contentment courses through you. The gale has receded. Wisdom retained, methods refined, no losses incurred. That's sufficient. With the glow intensifying leisurely, you gear up for impending tasks, not through strain, but preparedness. The winter persists in its trials. You persist in your replies. Discovering this equilibrium proves more vital for endurance than isolated abilities. Subsequent evenings will dawn. Fresh trials will emerge. Yet presently, serenity prevails, and serenity holds great worth. You cherish it, aware that yielding, rather than conquering, sustains through the most protracted colds. Upon the first winter arrival of strangers, their bewilderment strikes you foremost. It manifests in lingering exposed to gusts, erecting oversized blazes, favoring barriers over terrain. The freeze uncovers misconceptions swiftly. It offers no delay for clarification. You witness their battles with evenings routine to you. They gripe about air currents where you sense nothing. They heap logs on fires, yet arise chilled. Their havens seem sturdy but function inadequately. Warmth flees skyward. Dampness accumulates improperly. They confuse containment with safeguard and puzzle over the season's intrusion. Such errors stem not from lack of smarts. They arise from presumptions transported from prior homes. Arrivals anticipate the cold mirroring behaviors from abandoned locales. In this place, the season adheres to distinct principles. The earth imparts those principles gradually, while the freeze imposes them at once. You spot how newcomers often sweep drifts from abodes, bearing icy soil that siphons heat through the dark hours. They act on impulse, deeming exposed earth pure or secure. You observe their later trembling and recognize the error. The snow had been an ally, not a foe. Flames spark further bewilderment. Blazes thunder, plumes billow high, timber vanishes rapidly. Yet upon dying, the chill rebounds fiercer. You've mastered modest, consistent fires to support rather than overwhelm. That nuance seems minor until extended darks demonstrate its weight. Attire recounts a parallel tale. Garb selected for looks over mobility. Constricting wraps that hinder flow. Bulky wraps that hold sweat. You note digits turning insensitive, feet going slack. The cold seizes what circulation forgoes. The oversight starts silent, then turns perilous. Sight for dwellings unveils maybe the gravest oversight. Freshcomers pick spots for views or ease, ignoring currents or soil traits. They erect on crests where breezes linger unending. They overlook the gentle hollows that trap body heat. They rely on upright barriers that snag the breezes. You sense the chill channeling straight at them, foreseeing the grim close of darkness. A few observe your ways and deem them pointless. What's the point of hugging the ground, of shifting locations, of huddling in tight quarters? To outsiders, these seem backward, shaped by different upbringings. It takes sleepless evenings in the frost before intrigue overtakes scorn. You ponder the uneven spread of wisdom. Abilities honed over ages don't always transfer just by watching. Mastering cold weather ways demands grasping links between actions and outcomes over seasons. Mimicking a single practice without its full context breeds frustration. Scooping away drifts as if it's a blunder. Pooling warmth without strategy invites unease. Flames unchecked squander fuel. After those initial harsh stretches, a subtle turn emerges. Inquiries start surfacing. Soft-spoken queries from folks weary of chilly awakenings. How come you orient doorways like that? Why leave the drifts piled up? What's with this evening meal routine? The vibe alters. The season has schooled them. Certain approaches catch on fast. Piling drifts to shield sides, tweaking blaze intensity, easing into looser garb at rest. Deeper ones lag, communal rest, timely relocations, faith in terrain overbuilds. These call for rethinking beliefs beyond mere skills. You observe how errors linger where ego holds firm. Frost bows to no ego. Adaptable ones thrive with ease. Stubborn holdouts grasp it gradually or ache in silence. The cold offers no opinions. It presses on relentlessly. Adaptation stumbles at times. Overbuilt drift barriers cave in. Flames smothered excessively flicker out. Group rest comes off odd and strained. Such slips mark the growth process. You withhold criticism. You recall your own early fumbles, steered by patient kin who mended with kindness. Certain habits get rejected flat out. Relocating sites strikes as defeat. Burning beast grease seems odd. Betting on natural features feels shaky. You understand these pushbacks stem from strangeness, not spite. The season will sort them in time. You spot shifts in their talk as well. Chill turns foe in their words, a battle to win. For you, it's a state to navigate. That gap steers choices. Battling the freeze drains vigor. Aligning with it saves it. Gradually, some newcomers rest sounder. Their blazes endure. Their havens hush. Their steps ease. The cold loses its edge, turning routine. You spot this evolution as insight embedding. Some never fully yield. They tough out the season without embracing it. Their dark hours stay fraught. Their frames rigid. They tally toward thaw instead of sinking with the pulse. You feel the toll of that anticipation. You muse on how errors arise from overlooking trifles. The crunch underfoot in powder. The breezes pivot at first light. The vapors dance within walls. Such nuances whisper, not shout. They demand focus. The winter honors the alert. You recall ancestors' words. Cold isn't for enduring. It's for merging with briefly. Newcomers wrestle this notion. Merging seems like yielding power. Truly, it bestows it. As cycles unfold, bits of lore seep through. Snowfeet emerge from ridicule. Modest flames normalize. Haven forms evolve quietly. These shifts propagate via ease, not lectures. Well-being sways swifter than debate. You seek no acclaim. Thriving isn't claiming inventions. It's embracing what endures. The cold ignores origins of savvy. It just checks if it's applied. Come thaw's arrival, some depart convinced their resolve alone carried them. Others exit transformed, with unexpected routines tucked away. You discern the divide at once. You settle back as dusk falls. Knowing error's chill isolates. It squanders effort. Insight, once seized, warms distinctly. The winter endures unchanged. Folks evolve. Attentive ones adjust. Rigid ones falter. The earth waits steadily, delivering identical guidance yearly to those who linger to absorb. As the cold lingers, you see savvy flowing soundlessly among folks. Even sans clear talk, methods transfer palm to palm, evening after evening, bypassing lessons. One eyes your drift piling along a barrier and experiments next dusk. Another tweaks an entry's slant after tracing the gale's sharpest nip. These instances seem minor, yet they reshape all. You recall those days when old routines were brushed off as pointless, sticking too near to others, allowing flames to dwindle, picking campsites that felt awkward during endless chilly evenings. Gradually, that pushback eases. Ease proves its point louder than any lecture. When a person finally rests soundly after nights of tossing, they zero in on whatever shifted things. The same goes for ways of eating. Oils return to thinned-out dishes. Folks eat sooner in the dusk, holding back some bites for when the freeze bites deepest. These tweaks don't need convincing. They demand living through them. The season instructs quicker than any teacher. You observe how adopted skills get molded anew instead of just duplicated. A barrier of packed snow piled high in spots tumbles down. The next build stays shorter. Coals buried under too much log choke out. Come evening, woods placed with more thought. Tweaking sharpens notions as they pass along. Nobody anticipates flawlessness right away. A few resist huddling for heat initially. The proximity seems odd. Resting feels vulnerable, but eventually that unease lifts. Forms acclimate. Breaths fall into rhythm. Heat turns inescapable. What seemed weird starts to make sense. The cold has a knack for making effective methods routine. Hut constructions evolve in quiet ways too. Rigid sides soften into bends. Doorways reposition. Supplies stack in fresh layers. These alterations creep in sans fanfare. One dawn, you spot another's setup acting much like yours. Breezes ease up, echoes quiet. The dark slides by smoother. Habits of motion shift as well. No more random roaming. Trails solidify. Powder stays put where it's helpful, shoveled just where it blocks. Strength saves itself, skipping shows of toughness. Such evolutions show insight taking root. You ponder the difference from structured lessons. No rosters, no guides, just direct fallout. The chill strips away vagueness. Success hits you right away. Setbacks. The frost corrects swiftly. Differences persist though. Folks don't all pivot alike. Some cling to ways longer. Quick changers leap ahead. Progress stumbles but advances. Grouped evenings speed it up. All face the same dawn chill. You catch queries sharpening, not the broad _quote _0 but the practical. How deep the drift? How near's excessive? How faint the glow? Such probes mark doubt turning to interest. The winters already sold the value. Now they seek the details. You reply to direct asks, avoiding sermons. Excess talk muddles, showing Trump's saying. You reposition a cover, relocate a pack, settle in the hottest nook. Watching bridges what chatter skips. Kids grasp these fastest. Unburdened by preconceptions on harsh weather, they copy what soothes. Details stick. Seniors see it and let discovery unfold, stepping in only if needed. Seasonal schooling thrives when it seems instinctive. You muse on how imported know-how seldom arrives unchanged. It sifts via locale and custom. Only the suitable endures. The unfit drops off. That keeps approaches adaptable. The freeze hammers stiffness harder than naivety. You watch ease reshape actions once unrest fades with sleep. Icy strain eases. Steps slow. Breaths even out. Talks gentle. The den grows serene. The grip loosens. Not from milder air, but from smarter yielding. Completion never quite arrives. The weather keeps evolving. Storms vary. Wisdom stays vigilant. Yesterday's fix might tweak by dawn. Constant watchfulness wards off laziness. You sense thanks overtaking irritation as days pass. Flurries turn handy. Nightfall reliable. The bite bearable. That turns understated, yet ripples wide. The thankful ration effort better than the irked. You settle back, realizing cold savvy belongs to none. It's passed by need. Evenings like these relay tips sans fuss. Relief diffuses softly. Insight trails. Dawn brings fresh traces of growth. Flames dimmer, dens tighter, steps less rushed. Pressure mounts on, but reactions flow easier. As drowsiness nears, satisfaction settles in. You know the lore's circulated once more, via ease won and shivers dodged, not debates. That's winter's lore path. It embeds in flesh before speech. Shifts start hushed. You sense it as unease, not just freeze. Usual routes get skipped. Dwellings perch in spots that clash with the terrain. Daily winter habits seem hurried, broken, incomplete. A subtle alteration has occurred, and your body registers it ahead of your mind. Travel now serves purposes beyond the natural cycle. Sites that used to track breezes, streams, and wildlife are compelled to halt or relocate abruptly without notice. The season presses on unchanged, Indifferent to these altered ways, the wisdom that once aligned seamlessly starts to unravel along its borders. You observe the unraveling in disrupted schedules, provisions meant for one spot now stretch to cover another. Building supplies ideal for known terrain prove awkward in strange earth. The snow acts unpredictably in these spots. Gusts slice from unexpected directions. Evenings turn more biting since the old harmonies with the terrain have broken. Folks labor more intensely, yet shiver deeper. Blazes are kindled with greater frequency, but offer scant solace. Garments fray quicker as mending rhythms falter. The equilibrium that tamed the chill before now teeters on the brink, not from fiercer frost, but from a fractured cadence that once met it head-on. You perceive how the wise ones bear this shift most acutely. Their insights endure, yet only in favorable circumstances, when paths are constrained or hastened unduly. The precise flow of seasonal existence crumbles. Counsel comes belatedly. Alerts fall on deaf ears. The earth goes unheeded. Young ones absorb lessons in altered ways. Watching grows challenging amid erratic patterns. The steady cycles that once etched winter teachings through endless practice give way to on-the-spot fixes. Such quick adaptations sustain life in the instant, but can't supplant the enduring frameworks handed down through ages. Dwellings turn bulkier, fixed in place, sluggish to shift. They buck against transformation instead of flowing with it. During gales, these forms buckle under stress rather than bending. Drifts accumulate in unintended hollows. Breezes exploit flaws that familiarity would have sidestepped. Provisions falter as well. Hoarding customs fracture. Tried and true ways of keeping food spoil amid fresh limits. Meals grow sparse in variety. Inner heat proves tougher to sustain. Darkness lingers endlessly. When sustenance fails to meet the frost's needs, the season bites fiercer once expertise drifts from action. The freeze itself stays the same. What's altered is the knack for meeting it right. The cold spares no laggards, yields nothing to decrees blind to soil and sky. Folks keep huddling for heat. They tend to each other still. Those core drives hold firm, yet absent the liberty to tweak paths, homes, and moments. Tending turns makeshift rather than forethoughtful. Toil mounts. Yields shrink. You sense unease building, not wild alarm, but a steady strain. Anticipation supplants foresight. Choices come tardy, not timely. The chill flourishes in such voids. It seeps past the cracks of doubt. Certain lore clings tenaciously. Snow yet shields. Flames demand control. Proximity still warms flesh. These certainties stand solid. Some slip away unheeded without room for use. Wandering with the seasons. Nimble home sighting. Swift replies to shifting skies. These strain under duress. You feel the burden of change weighing far beyond its due. Enduring the wilds meant attuning and reacting once. Now it means weathering the discord. Such strain saps vigor bit by bit. Still, insight doesn't dissolve outright. Folks tweak as they might. Tiny routines endure. Mounding drifts for cover, passing rendered oils, nestling in groups. These scraps ward off utter despair. You detect endurance reshaping itself. It tilts from flourishing toward mere persistence. Evenings are weathered, not crafted. This subtle divide cuts deep, though words evade it. As you settle in, you know the frost has ever been relentless. Yet once it followed a known beat. Upheaval renders it keener. Not from altered ice, but from answers grown tough to wield. Slumber arrives with a changed feel, thinner, watchful. You stay poised to act over sinking deep. Such wariness taxes the spirit, yet it suits the hour. All the same, you cling to what's left. Communal heat, gentle tending, focus on minor cues. These hold true amid broader breakdowns. The season permits no total collapse while fragments of knowing linger. Dawn returns, as ever. When it breaks, you'll recalibrate anew, drawing on what endures and shedding the rest. The frost rolls onward, as do you. Moments etch scars even amid haste. You feel this as you pause in stillness, gaze drifting across the floor under the roof. Gouges in the trodden dirt, frayed borders from bedding dragged over and over. A fireside patch where warmth has stained the ground darker than surroundings. Such echoes outlast murmurs and dying embers. They linger well past forsaken winter outposts. These faint imprints abide. The soil holds on to echoes of heat and motion. Folks once settled in this spot. They dozed off here. They endured those harsh evenings that required watchful vigilance. Now you sense a link to those times, not via tales passed down, but via the voids molded by daily routines. Picture someone years from now unearthing these clues, gently sweeping aside accumulations of dirt. They'd spot the spots where flames glowed softly and persistently, how rest areas huddled close instead of wandering wide, how doorways got tightened and adjusted over and over. These designs whisper softly. They skip the grand narratives. Instead, they share functional insights, artifacts abandoned behind weave comparable accounts, implements cracked and mended multiple times prior to being tossed aside, vessels bearing marks of constant handling instead of being swapped out, bits of garb frayed in predictable spots. Such leftovers uncover how the season was confronted not with plenty, but with mindfulness and recycling. That outlook clicks with her right away. It rings true. Certain elements defy simple decoding. The reasons some dwellings got bolstered extra solidly. Why particular hearths saw ongoing use while others show up just once. Such puzzles hang in the air, unresolved. The cold season offers no tidy resolutions. It yields proof forged by endless choices under duress. You reflect on how modern excavators decipher these remnants. They seek out recurring motifs, designs that echo through territories and eras. When identical approaches crop up persistently, it points to something dependable in play, not creativity for novelty alone, but adjustments honed by urgent needs. A subtle, often missed marker holds significance: the lack of particular features, scant evidence of roaring blazes or thick seasonal deposits, minimal hints of excess. This void conveys moderation, evenings devoted to preserving rather than expending. You grasp just how intentional that thriftiness had to be. You observe how the cold compacts timelines. Things pack tighter, rest zones bunch up. Flame activity concentrates in tight areas. Routines tighten. Life in winter draws everything inward. That contraction creates a compact archive, unlike the vast imprints of summer wanderings. Debates persist on whether these formations stem from desire or compulsion. Did folks opt for proximity, or did the chill compel it? The terrain provides no straight reply. It merely displays the outcomes. You intuit that reality blends the two, selection guided by hardship. You ponder how wisdom endures amid upheaval or relocation. Minor routines etch impressions, like piling snow in the same way time after time, positioning a threshold at a precise tilt, arranging covers in identical fashion repeatedly. Such deeds weave insight right into the landscape. Though these seasonal outposts were fleeting, their effects endured. Ground firms up uniquely beneath where forms reclined. Soot alters the makeup of the earth. Vegetation shifts faintly in the years that follow. The territory propels recollection onward, even if humans cannot. A peculiar solace washes over you in this, realizing that attentiveness etches hints, that endurance inscribes itself unobtrusively into existence. The frost doesn't wipe out all. It safeguards select elements with striking clarity. Gaps exist naturally, whole accounts that stay buried forever, seasons weathered without a trace worth noting, evenings managed on the fly, absent fixed habits. Those instances dissolve. Not every bit of lore surfaces eventually. Some stays locked in flesh and exhalation alone. You embrace that boundary without fuss. The winter has forever chosen selectively what to retain. What endures isn't spectacle, but steadiness. The identical thoughtful actions, looped until they merge seamlessly with the soil. As you recline once more and shut your lids, envision hands down the line finding these subdued ledgers. They'll detect proof of heat guarded with precision, frost met with deliberation, individuals who mastered coexisting with the season instead of fighting it. That idea grounds you, even amid failing setups or compelled shifts. Imprints endure. Insight imprints. Attentiveness builds form. For all its harshness, the cold turns into a sort of repository. Slumber eases in anew, bearing this realization along. The darkness grows textured, now rich with echoes of bygone souls. You settle in, assured that endurance doesn't dissolve upon conclusion. It embeds in the dirt, poised for discovery. With yet another evening drawing near, you tune into inquiries that never quite resolve, no matter the passing seasons. Not queries pressing for immediate replies, but those that hover softly, much like chill, clings to dim corners well past dawn. You perceive them as breaks in recollection, voids where accounts grow sparse. Spots where lived moments clarify much, yet leave some shrouded. You muse on how survival through frost was molded partly by surroundings, partly by traditions. Certain ways emerge in any place where the freeze bites deep. Huddled heat, modest flames, measured steps. Practices diverge widely depending on the region. Types of housing vary. Choices for meals evolve. Ways of resting adapt in distinct fashions. The causes aren't always obvious. At times, neighboring communities facing alike hardships opt for contrasting approaches, and each succeeds. You perceive that wisdom doesn't travel predictably. It spreads outward, loops around, fades temporarily, only to resurface altered. The harsh season spurs trial and error, yet it harshly penalizes missteps. This push-pull dynamic yields fragmented insights instead of rigid frameworks. You recall tales from elders about unusual seasons. Flurries delayed, frost in unexpected spots, chill extending past its norm. During such times, established habits faltered. Folks adapted, though often with struggle. These anomalies muddle tidy interpretations. They highlight how the cold itself evolves, gradually, though it may be. You observe discrepancies in spoken histories. A tale might stress mobility, while another advocates hunkering down. One lauds sturdy enclosures, another cautions their risks. Such clashes aren't flaws. They mirror varied climates, terrains, and demands. Understanding molds itself to surroundings. Devoid of those details, it seems erratic. You ponder the challenge of distinguishing preference from compulsion in hindsight. Did gatherings form from a love of company or sheer survival need? Were specific provisions chosen for their appeal or their lasting power? These inquiries defy easy conclusions. You find peace in leaving them unresolved. Certain cold weather customs flicker in recollection before fading away. A method for piling drifts, a specific blaze setup, an odd dwelling form tried sparingly, failed trials perhaps, or reactions to fleeting circumstances. The frost departs without notes. You contemplate how survival tactics often dwell beyond words, in stance, in rhythm, in the choice to hold back. These elements prove nearly impossible to recapture afterward. They thrive solely in the instant. When that instant slips by, scant evidence lingers. You grasp that enduring the freeze doesn't yield total clarity. You weather the dark hours, yet rarely grasp why one path outweighed another. Some expertise stays instinctive, unspoken. It functions sans rationale. You remember old arguments by the flames over their management. What amount crossed into excess? What level ensured safety? Varied conclusions arose locally. No single rule fit everywhere. The key lay in flexibility. Blazes were tweaked endlessly. Inflexible guidelines crumbled fast. Similar vagueness surrounds slumber, duration of repose, frequency of stirring, divided nights deliberate or mere yield to chill and shadow. You sense this haze in your lived nights. Rest molds itself per evening. Routines form, then alter once more. You see how frost season lore defies uniformity. Efforts to codify it erase vital nuances. A tactic thriving one cycle flops the next. Success in one hollow means nothing nearby. The wild demands nuance, not shortcuts. This doesn't unsettle you. It bolsters confidence. Intricacy breeds endurance. A lone method invites swift downfall. Rather, diverse tactics interweave, offsetting one another's gaps. You reflect on how today's inquiries chase absolutes. The freeze provides qualifiers. In this case, do that. Otherwise, try this. Such if-then logic sustains life. It irks seekers of guarantees, though. As you ease back into repose, you embrace lingering enigmas. Not from absent lore, but because the season defies constancy. It morphs. It probes. It shuns exact repeats. Insight mirrors that flux. You inhale deeply, permitting the puzzles to lie. Resolution isn't demanded now. Thriving needs vigilance, recall, and readiness to pivot. The haven endures. The embers quiet. Forms sink into shared heat anew. Beyond, the freeze pursues its silent task, unconcerned with rationale. Within, you rest easy amid certainties and voids. Drowsiness comes bearing assurance and enigma alike. You welcome them side by side. The chill accommodates both. The last evening descends softly, sans haste, as though the grip loosens subtly. You sense it in a lessened bite at the barriers, in your quicker ease upon moving. No grand shift occurs. Still, a subtle one does. You recline motionless, attuned to the everyday now, the noises, the glow, the shared breath's cadence. What required vigilant focus has turned innate. Decisions flow unthought. You simply inhabit them. Adapting to the harshness of winter has shifted from a deliberate struggle to an effortless routine. You recall those initial evenings when the chill seemed like a deliberate assault, intensely personal. These days, it's simply a known element, still hazardous, yet stripped of its enigma. That shift is crucial. Dread drains your reserves, while acquaintance preserves them. You stand firm now, where tension once gripped you. The shelter stands solid and unyielding. The flames flicker with a subdued glow. The snow beyond shields as much as it endangers. Provisions stay simple yet adequate. Companions exchange heat instinctively. Every element interlocks seamlessly without resistance. This embodies thriving in the season's grip, not lavish plenty or indulgent ease, but just the right balance, thoughtfully placed. You ponder how so much wisdom now resides in your frame, in your posture, your inhalations, your reactions to noises. It didn't demand scrolls or guidance. It emerged from vigilant evenings, from softly mending errors, from observing successes and discarding failures. Beyond the walls, the stars seem nearer than before. The heavens no longer press down oppressively. They merely are. You're not resisting them anymore. You fit naturally under their vastness. Despite the freeze, you perceive winter's grip easing slightly, not from its end, but from your preparedness for the coming turns. That preparedness generates its own inner heat. It lets repose grow profound, free of watchful strain. As your eyelids lower, it dawns on you that enduring the deepest frosts was never a battle against the season. It was mastering the art of remaining attuned inside it, attending, adapting, connecting, recalling. Slumber arrives without resistance now, not from the chill's retreat, but from its comprehension. Now the pace eases. The hut exhales gently nearby, and the outer realm recedes, buffered by drifts and hush. Your form no longer monitors the frost. It settles into a heat that's hard-won, recognizable, reliable. Sinews relax unaided, breaths grow fuller naturally. No need for mental effort. Tonight holds no further urgencies. All essentials are tended. The blaze understands repose. The dwelling comprehends endurance. Your physique grasps preservation. Ideas float by like wispy vapors, dissolving before solidifying. The season's weight has lifted. It now seems serene, bounded, tolerant. You feel the darkness extending, yet it doesn't unsettle. Time unfolds broad and soft. No haste greets the dawn, just tranquility, stacked and serene. Your respiration eases into a languid cadence, each intake fluid and thorough. Heat lingers in its proper place. Frost lingers afar, subdued and remote. Should thoughts stray, they do so lightly. Should slumber intensify, you allow it. No tugs or calls disrupt. You're secure. You're sufficiently heated. You're precisely positioned. The evening bears you onward from this point. Sweet dreams. Dream.